It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you, so let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?
Anyways, welcome back to Cruising with Steak.
Cocksucker!
we just had an amazing interview with Red Pill Junkie, myself, James Cruz, and Jerry Cthulhu,
and by just
who just fucking rocked the interview for us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Rocked it. So we're here with James, Jerry, Sean, and our new friend Adam.
He's
Adam, you want to introduce yourself? Your new voice?
Hello.
There it is.
Adam lives in Odessa, Ukraine. 6'5", and divorced.
Yeah.
He likes moonlit walks in nuclear waste.
And chemtrail rain.
And on occasion, I enjoy company of moose and squirrel.
Yes.
Moose and squirrel.
Actually, right, exactly. You know them.
Of course I do. I can't do Bullwinkle very well now.
You guys don't know moose and squirrel.
They're too young.
Well, Grimm's met moose.
I know
anyway.
Bullwinkle.
No. Friends. I bet you do, James. I bet you do.
So, Sean, you had a story you were going to tell?
Hold on a minute. Let me mute everyone else.
Watch me pull this rabbit out of a hat.
Ping pong balls.
So.
Oh, Bullwinkle, that trick never works.
Yes. God, I love you guys.
All right, so you're driving.
It's like being married.
So you were driving down the road, Sean.
Is this one of those ad-lib stories? No, I was working in my warehouse, and I was looking for a show on spirituality and like just general nonsense, and I came across Grimerica. And the first episode I listened to, I was greeted by RPJ talking about going through an antique store and finding a particular book. I don't remember the name of the book. I just remember that was the intro, and I was like, who is this guy with this crazy accent? But he's talking about some crazy shit. So I got intrigued. And then I heard Darren and Graham and then their stories and them talking, and then they went into interviewing some guy who's apparently was talking to Earth, the spirit Earth, and was told don't eat anything but vegetables and fish. That's all you're allowed to eat. And then, that's kind of what got me introduced to Grimerica, and then eventually introduced to you guys. So thanks, RPJ. You're my introduction to Grimerica.
Woo.
Sweet, dude.
Anybody else have a nice RPJ story to share?
I think that's the same episode I first heard of him, too. Well, I too, like Sean, first heard of Red Pill on Grimerica. I don't remember which episode exactly. In fact, I heard it. The first two or three I listened to all had him in them.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
So I thought he was like a guest co-host.
Yeah, I was surprised when he
three...
wasn't on episodes.
Yeah,
I heard him on like 3 different shows in like the same week. It was crazy. I'm like, okay, this guy's awesome.
And I found him to be like-minded, articulate, intelligent. I started reading his blogs, and he's always been, he's on that.
He's
big
up
time
in
with
that.
Yeah, he's a high level. He's a 33rd degree.
Yeah,
in the truth community.
No doubt. I mean, he's a writer for...
Dude, 30 years down the road, we'll be able to tell our kids that we interviewed Red Pill Junkie.
Red Pill Junkie?
Grandkids.
Yeah, I know.
Right after...
From a cave?
From a cave.
Right after an earthquake. Yeah. He's right down
there. 2
there.
earthquakes.
Dude, they got hit again today.
One today.
Yeah.
Again today?
Uh-huh.
No way.
Yeah.
We got 2 more in California. You know what's going to happen, right? Is the beer is going to be real. It's going to come past
that goddamn
past
bird.
Us, cause a great big earthquake, and then the Koreans are going to lob shit at us. It's going to miss and land in the ocean, and we're going to laugh at them. But then the NBA and the insert vegetable soup here of all of the sports communities are going to organize a coup, and then every goddamn redneck that voted for Trump's going to be like, but I like my sports, and then we're going to go into civil war. All of this before September 23rd.
Which was today.
Oh, that was today.
See, it's already happening.
I've heard from many sources that Atlantis, the continent of Atlantis is rising, and that's basically between Africa and South America. That area is a plate. This is what I heard. It's actual tectonic plate, and that continent is rising.
What was the lost one they said that was over there? Like
New Zealandia or something?
No, well,
it was like it was like by New Zealand
Patagonia?
and Australia.
Oh, Lemuria? No. Oh, you're not talking about a lost continent?
Well, it's a really large landmass that connected. It might have come
I don't know
all the way
how
down to
anything's-
Australia.
It's
How's it going to
underwater,
raise
right?
out of the ocean when
Yeah,
the
it's
world is
huge.
already flat?
That's how they-
What's going to push it up?
Water?
If you listen to
Secret space
The
program?
turtles underneath it.
Mothership?
Squirrels.
Hydraulics.
Hydraulics. There you go.
I
hydraulics.
like that. I like that.
Hit the
Kumari.
switches.
That's what's actually going on in Antarctica. It's like the navigational system, so it controls all the hydraulics and everything. They're trying to adjust shit because something went wrong and nobody remembers how to fix that
They
crap.
found the switches under the ice.
Oh, that.
Waiting for giant heads to
it
show
all
up and
makes
scream.
sense.
Total Recall.
Show us what you
guy.
got.
Show
Yes!
me what you got.
Adam, you guys are
Show
allowed
us
to
what
stay.
you got.
There's
what you
got.
I heard someone talking about the actual layout of the realm. Let's just say that it's. If you
Why
look
does
at
that look like a penis?
Sorry.
Anyway, what he was saying is that if you look at the Earth in like an AE projection model where you're looking down on the top and you see all the land, that the concentric rings are actually sub-realms. And what Antarctica represents is the underworld, what's behind it. And all the armies of the world are there keeping all that shit at bay. That's
It's
why
the
it's so
Nephilim.
awful.
It's the Nephilim.
Essentially, that was the story. It wasn't. It was more like, beyond the ice wall is the underworld. And
Jerry,
we're
type in
Midgard,
New Zealandia. See what comes up for that.
I will.
I got
You
that.
you see that? You see what I'm talking about? You get the underworld. You've got Midgard that we're in, and then North Pole, and
I've seen that
Arctic
map
Circle
before. It's freaking
is
awesome.
Asgard is heaven. And
Fake news.
It doesn't matter if it's fake or real. It's the idea. That goes along with those people who say there's some kind of hole up there that you could jump through to escape. I know it's crazy, but they all have different ideas that center around these things. It's got to have some importance somewhere.
There was one.
It's like everyone's trying to work this out. So if you could take all the crazy ideas and get a little bit of something out of one of them.
Or you synthesize, or what's the word I'm looking for? You take all of those ideas and you find the overlying or the overlapping ideas that match up.
Right. The correlations.
Thank you. Correlations.
Right. That's kind of what I was saying, but it was fucked up because
That's okay. You spelled ancient wrong too.
I spelled ancient wrong?
You did. You spelled it ACEINT.
I'm not
What?
typing.
I'm typing it. Sorry, that's why it's spelled wrong.
Well, okay,
it's
I was
all
about
James
to make a
Cruz?
joke
Come on. Yeah,
Grim,
this
but-
is me, man.
Oh fuck! I didn't even realize it.
That's
Okay.
why they're using
Your
Yahoo
results.
as a search engine.
Dude, it's busting me over to this fucked up search engine.
So what do you want me to look up?
Nothing.
New Zealandia?
No, James has got this. Yeah, yeah. I thought Jerry was doing this for some reason.
Right? I was so confused. I'm playing Xbox, so I'm talking to you guys.
I'm watching James, and that's why I got lost in what I was saying.
Yeah, me too.
I get lost in thought when I see
It's like,
James too.
I'm like, how many times is he going to have to search for the same thing?
Bill, try to take map off, because I don't think there's a map of it
What are
necessarily.
you looking for?
Pangea.
I already found that.
I don't know if this is a thing.
Well, what are you looking for?
A lost underwater
We're gonna
continent.
find
Is that?
Well, type that in. Type lost underwater continent.
Is that it right there?
Exactly what you want, not what you think you want.
He's married. He's got to go around.
No, this is true. The search engines have changed.
I already found it before. Oh, it's called Lost.
Okay.
What the fuck is this about? Animal what?
Sacrifice?
You got to hide your fucking search history, bro.
You're crazy.
Yeah, but nobody listening to this podcast is going to see
lost underwater cocaine.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were spelling, man.
Hey,
lost underwater consonants.
Go back to the text, not the pictures. We want to read the names, not look at pictures.
Read the names.
James doesn't read.
Well, we do.
Dude, he glances.
I just glance. I just smash buttons, and that's
totally cool. But not all the pictures will have the name of the lost continent on them.
Hey, anybody got any tech news?
Cruising with technology segment.
Teach me on a computer.
Perfect.
What do you got there, Jer? We'll keep it quiet in the background.
Tech news. I just know that I don't remember if we talked about this last time about the Bitcoin stuff.
We brought it up. What's going on with that? There's some new updates. Anything new?
So, like 2 weeks ago, the Chinese government, Reuters posted a news story that said the Chinese government was going to ban a certain type of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency activities. And I don't remember if they had done that or were about to ban the exchanges from being in China. That news caused the Bitcoin market to drop drastically, which affects all the other currencies, right? Cryptocurrencies. Mm-hmm. A couple days later, JP Morgan Chase's Chase? Yeah, I think it's JP Morgan Chase. The top dude there, Jamie Dimon is the guy's name, Dimon. He came out and said Bitcoin's basically a fraud. And the market just totally crashed. Bitcoin dropped from like $4,600 down to $3,200 or $3,100, and took everything else down with it. And then it got really low, and everyone started buying it again because it's good.
Do you think they purposely did that so they could get a big buy-in on it?
Well, that was everyone's suspicion. And then 2 days later, somebody mined the blockchain and found that someone from JP Morgan Chase in Europe bought Bitcoin. A lot of it.
Wow.
So,
saboteurs.
I haven't personally verified this. I saw this on a YouTube video. So,
wasn't that how the Depression started? The Rothschilds were saying banks are bad, and then everybody withdrew.
Yeah. They crashed the market on purpose, but it needed to be crashed because it wasn't based on reality.
Kind of like what Soros has done in countless countries,
like ours.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think what it was, the stock that you owned didn't actually represent any real portion of the thing you thought, the equity behind it. People just sold stock, and you could sell billions of shares, and it wouldn't matter because people just, I have stock now. You know, it didn't actually, yeah. And those laws changed after the Depression because it was that stock market crash. Now, who instigated that and how it happened is, whatever.
I mean, it's just kind of like the same reason why marijuana is a Schedule I drug. Had nothing to do with the substance itself. It had everything to do with
DuPont and Dow Chemical, the petrochemical industry. It all goes back to petroleum
and the paper industry. Both.
Not so much. It was more so petrochemical. Everything that you can make with hemp everything that's made with plastic almost can be replaced by hemp.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, did you put your condom back on your mic? Is that you breathing that I'm hearing?
Oh, sorry.
I think it's hitting your beard.
I'm watching porn.
Your studly beard. That's a nice goat.
Hold on, let me move it. This is better. I don't know.
I can't think of any other tech news.
James, you got something?
I can look, and you can just cut out the gaps.
I don't know.
Do we got to move on to a good news segment, maybe?
I know how the buttons work. That's it.
Sometimes.
That's all I know. That's all I know.
So the new iPhone X
Yeah, there's a fatal flaw in it. I heard about that. That's
Fatal? Like it'll kill you?
Like
No.
Sniper.
I mean, paying for it'll probably
Built-in
kill
sniper.
Yeah, isn't it over $1,000?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
I fucking refuse. Like, I bought the iPhone 6,
Haha.
and just because, fuck, it's the iPhone 6. I bought it. It does well.
That's what I
I
have.
just don't see
Yeah, that's what I
myself
have, too.
buying another phone. It's like, okay, you're going to charge me how much for this piece of shit? It
Yeah.
does just about the same thing.
Unless
What
I
are
like
the
drop it
improvements?
or break it. Like, yeah, I don't see this phone anything ever going wrong with it. It moves quick enough. Like,
Yeah.
So here it is. Over the weekend, Apple announced a repair program for the iPhone 6 Plus to target. Is this the one? Fuck, this is not it. Sorry.
I saw that.
Dude, we're as prepared.
hurricane.
I typed in iPhone flaw and I got nothing for today. Everything's
I got
years old. That's
what about hurricanes, James?
No, just that the Hurricane Maria, wreaked havoc on that. How do you pronounce it? The Arecibo radio
Oh, the
telescope.
Arecibo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Jacked it all up. Yeah.
It's offline right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I tweeted about that last week. I said that it would be cool if Matthew McConaughey and Jodie Foster
You did.
Showed
had a
up.
fundraiser there.
I thought James Woods retweeted that. Did he?
No.
I know it was you. It was you.
Jerry would get no, we'd be hearing about it if Jerry got retweeted by James
man.
Woods.
I know.
Yeah,
That guy's so
155 mile an
No.
hour winds there.
Dude, I'd be fucking screaming to you
there's
guys
so
in
much-
chats about it.
There's so much conflicting data on the internet in
Yeah.
alleged live weather radar programs right now about those hurricanes, and it's driving the whatever community on YouTube. I don't know what to call them anymore.
The fear porn community.
They're not fear porn. They're just trying. They're like newborn woke, newly woke. They're like everything's a fucking scam, and we got to look at everything.
Oh,
So, not that they're all like that, but you know what I mean. And so every hurricane is steered by them, and it's
the they
Them.
and the them.
well, it's
The them and
generated
they.
by them, and then steered to wherever they want to hurt somebody. Whatever.
So-
Maybe true. I don't know. Anyway, I forgot my point.
Sure, you've been
You
doing that a
started with
lot.
one?
Losing your train of thought. You're on a
Talk
roll
too
and then
much.
it's just gone.
Because I go too deep on the introduction. That's what.
Yeah, the preamble. I was
Balls
watching.
deep.
Yeah.
I go balls
You do go balls deep. I know from experience.
Anyway.
0 to 100.
Whoa.
We're talking about the hurricane. Yeah,
Talking
so
about newly woke. We're talking about the community going crazy about these hurricanes and these alleged.
Too many
Yeah,
weather things monitoring
that
stuff.
was it. That might have been it. That just they're going. That subset of those people of that community are crazy that it's being steered around, and like they keep saying, Jose got parked out. It's parked. It is there. Oh, I remember what I was talking about. The data that's not really lining up. So the wind speeds on some sites aren't the same as the ones on others. Some areas of the maps are static and don't move, so they're like, it's photoshopped.
Sounds like some fuckery.
So it may just be bad data. It may be because there's giant coronal stream solar wind hitting us right now from the coronal hole.
Yeah, we're getting all jacked up from that.
Hole.
The corona hole. Corona hole
I said, you said hole.
and corona.
There's a lot of energy coming into our atmosphere
Phrasing.
that could be affecting anything. So who knows? But affecting the satellites that feed these systems that display this data. So, but some sites show radar activity. I showed you one earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't show anything of the storms, like the clouds that you see on the larger, like Google Weather or weather.com maps, where you see like the whole United States and you see all the clouds everywhere. These local radar maps don't show any of that. So they're saying that mismatch means that the storm's not really there and that the data is being faked. That's kind of their...
Mm-hmm.
I can't get behind that one, but still, it's just interesting.
Very
It's more division.
interesting.
It's just, we were talking about division, how things are getting broken down into
Oceania
them.
is getting their asses whooped, and Pacifica
In East Asia. East Asia is kicking our ass now.
That's right. Yeah.
Man.
I mean, that's kind of
But
how I look at it.
Well, when East Asia launches its giant penis at us, and we launch ours back, the
Great
madness.
two pricks passing in the night.
I see that coming, man.
Maybe they'll just end up docking.
Penis
It's
in
gonna
the
be bad.
night.
Yeah, this is some fear porn. Let's switch it up.
This is a hard topic, man.
Extra.
Man, Nuke,
Extra.
our hoax.
Read all about it. Good news segment. Extra. Extra.
You guys got some good
Read
news?
all about it. Good
No more
news
bad news.
segment.
Nukes are a
With
hoax. That's good
award-winning
news.
journalists Grimsteak and James Cruz. Good.
I miss Felix. He's come back to the chats.
Felix, come back. We miss you.
Yeah, we miss you, Felix.
Come back, Felix.
He's laughing his ass off.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is.
Did you see the message he left? The last one. You'll
He's
be
loving it.
missing me, or you'll be sorry. I forget what it was. It was funny. It was like 8 words, like 1 word per line. I gotta find it now.
What do you got for us, James?
I got a dog named Farida. She's very good in she saved over 50 lives in New Mexico's earthquakes.
You personally have this dog? Like you adopted it?
I found one.
I like turtles.
Yes, I found one.
I like turtle
52
Sunday.
Nice.
people, including
That's
12
awesome.
people with
Hero dogs.
life-threatening injuries. Hero dogs. Yes, she's a good dog.
Man. Well, I heard Frank Zappa's going on a hologram tour.
Oh,
I saw
exciting.
that. It's kind of tech news, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, there
or
you
good
go.
news.
Sure.
It is good
if you're
news.
into that.
It's interesting how that just came out right after we had that big Frank Zappa download
Mhm.
last week.
Yep, that's why I posted it and tagged you. I was like, I gotta do that.
That's hilarious. I can't find it. I'm not gonna look for it. You just made me think of that Warren Zevon song called Carmelita. Whatever you named your dog, it's got the same number of syllables.
Sean, you got some good news, don't you?
Farida.
Farida, Carmelita, Farida.
Oh, somebody just joined the
Wait.
chats.
It's
What?
failed. It's time
Failed.
for me to ruin it, right?
Run.
Bill, you got some good news? We're in the good news segment. You're just gonna stare at me right now and not say anything?
I have some
all
good
Can-
news.
Do all Canadians have to wear the same type of glasses?
I think
This
so.
looks like what Darren has.
Mhm.
Those are called BCGs. They're called birth control glasses.
I like them.
Shh. It's working.
Bill,
Oakley's.
Bill, you can't talk?
Dude, I'm birth controlled already.
I say we need a
I was
band
rendered
I'm not gonna say
sterile
anything.
many years ago.
So I've got good news. It's personal good news.
Okay,
I
I like it.
have worked
New-
really
new
hard
wife?
for it. And no, I don't have a third wife,
Damn.
but I did get a raise and a promotion.
Yay.
at work.
Oh,
that's-
congratulations. Woo.
I haven't
I
had a
just
raise in
wish that.
6 years.
they have pills for that.
Oh, I get it.
Dun, dun, dun.
God, where is that?
Oh.
I like that.
Oh,
So Failed and I are working out a couple of things. I'm working with Failed on this, and it's actually, I got to tell you, the kind of the recipe here. Are we done with good news? Good news, everybody.
I think good news is covered pretty well.
I don't know. Sure. Yeah.
So I had the idea today as I was.
I got
buying
good news. Good news. That snake
There's no
is dead.
flooding.
I have one
anywhere.
more good news.
One more good news.
The snake is dead. That's it. That is all.
Oh, the snake's dead. Okay.
Bill got a mic. I think that's what's happening right now.
All right, that's cool. He can join us as soon as he catches up. I was working out today. Actually, no, I got online and I bought a Grimerica T-shirt because fucking I love those guys. They're hilarious. They're the reason we know each other. And then I thought, it'd be kind of cool if Cruising with Steak had T-shirts, and then our infamous 3 pictures
Oh,
should all be on those T-shirts. And I want mine to change a little bit. So Failed is going to do me the solid of making my beautiful full frontal with the Febreze can as his lock screen. And he's going to snap a screenshot of it with the lock screen up at 23:58. And there's two reasons. There's a whole thought process I had behind the symbolism of this. 23:58 is 2 minutes to midnight. Doomsday Clock has moved 17 times since its inception in 1947. The longest it's been from to midnight has been 17
times
minutes.
The last one.
And this last one is the shortest it's been when they updated it in 2017 when Trump got elected. And it's 2.5 minutes to midnight. And this is all like kind of symbolism for global war. I want it to be Failed's phone because his carrier is Canadian.
90 seconds?
It's 90 seconds. So his carrier is Canadian. Actually, 66
No, it says
20
Bell.
seconds. It says Bell, right, but it's Canadian.
What is that?
And it being on a lock screen, we're in bondage. We're 2 minutes to the end of the war, to the World War, and the only place we can escape is Canada, because Mexico don't want us. So that's
Beautiful.
the whole
That's like
idea behind
poetry.
mine. So 23:58 is my new hashtag. And my wife's absolutely opposed to that being a T-shirt, but I don't agree.
Dude, you hold that microphone up to your face, it get me hot.
Dude, that's
Really?
a cult fan style right there. That's
Just walk around your house.
I gotta tell you something.
You just
Does it
slam
sound
that
better?
there. Yeah, dude, you sound good.
That's
Alright,
really
good.
loud.
I mean, you're a little loud, but you sound better than you normally do.
I'm trying something new here, so
Yeah,
there you go.
Huh?
gotta set it down. There you go.
Okay. How about that?
Oh, that's terrible.
Ah!
Oh, I just had to
What
mute you.
happened?
Yeah,
You're
What
a
you
bug
failed?
hardcore. Yeah.
When you sat back,
a cord just fucking
Pull the
got
cord?
loose.
now it's okay. Just don't
Whoa.
move.
Okay,
Lean back
how's that
again.
now?
Lean back. Lean back.
The moose dropped the microphone, ladies and gentlemen. The Canadian moose dropped the microphone.
That's his mic stand right now. There's just a moose sticking his head in the window.
That earthquake in Mexico, by the way, was 6.1 today.
Yeah,
It's
I've got a
probably
friend.
an aftershock. Well,
I got
our RPJ lives in Mexico City.
Yes.
Or around
Oh.
Mexico City.
in DAFA, so yeah, he's feeling
The
it.
first part of the interview is bird's eye view. Remember, he was giving us
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
what happened, like his experience of that big one.
Oh.
I see a building afall.
No,
It was pretty,
I think he
pretty
saw
serious.
Talking about-
a wall. The wall came down near him, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was, yeah. There was some shit. Dude, that was just crazy.
The show has suspense and terror
Yeah.
and earthquakes.
I can't wait to listen to this one. I like
Dude.
Red Pill.
Dude,
That's
it's a good one.
It's a really good one. I wish it was.
When was
Oh,
the first
so-
time you were introduced?
This
to
is the
Red Pill
intro, and I don't know, no, dude, it's Red
Yes,
Pill.
we're all regaling each other with our introductions.
I first heard Red Pill probably on
Oh.
Grimerica. But after that, he was in. Oh,
Okay, you're coming in
Yeah.
Freaking out. You're
all
like,
jacked up.
whatever that happened before did again.
It's
I
like
hate
a-
my setup.
I hate my
He's
setup.
just he's Android sitting right now, can't move.
Why is it so gypsy?
Why do you have a
don't know
gypsy?
Because I can't. I want to buy some new stuff, but I gotta wait.
I mean, but a headphone jack's a headphone jack or USB. It
No,
must be-
it's not what it is. What you're hearing is his
Yeah.
fucking cell phone.
Oh,
yeah.
you're right. That is the cell phone noise. I've
Move it
heard.
away from the. Move it far away from the microphone.
Well, you're using a wired headset that's connected to your cell phone, and your headset's picking up the interference of a phone call or a text message or just the general updates.
Just the general radio.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
hate this shit.
It's all right.
No.
You're almost there. You're almost
You
there.
actually sound good.
Yeah, you sound good. It's
You
just
just
the
got to keep them
interference.
apart.
Yeah, keep them separated.
You know what? Whenever we hear it, we're just going
I
to
see.
talk about AOL for just a moment. Every time we hear it, we'll just talk about AOL.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, that rocks. You got it perfect now.
There we
Oh,
go.
that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might just.
So yeah, no, Red Pill Junkie. I heard him first on Grimerica, and then he's been.
You don't have to be far away from it. The microphone does.
Talking to the microphone.
Leave me alone.
No, dude, you're doing fine. This is why you should troubleshoot beforehand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know I didn't want to do that, but okay, now are we good now? I'm gonna talk.
Man.
You got a strong phone, dude.
Yeah.
That sounds like a voice.
It sounds like his pocket pussy's malfunctioning. Actually, that's
Yeah,
my
that gave me-
pocket pussy
that was
malfunctioning.
freaky.
Sorry, everybody.
That gave me chills.
You're good, Fail. Just keep going. Keep going. Move through it. Just move through it. Just push through
Power through, buddy.
I don't know what's going on right now. I think you're all lying to me.
No, you'll hear it on the recording because I'm not going to edit any of it out.
There's like a
Yeah.
robot talking to you in the background.
That
it.
is
Say,
weird.
eat more beef. Eat more beef.
Eat more moose.
Hey.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Pill, Grimerica, and then he's on a whole bunch of different roundtables with a lot of other people that I have on my podcast. So he's every 2 or 3 months he'll make his rounds, and I love it. He's got some good UFO quality ideas floating around. So
Phil, I have to ask you, for the listeners out there that can't see, I'm seeing your house and your table, and I'm seeing on the table what looks like either a claw knife, a drywall key. It is a claw knife. Are you related to Ed Gein or maybe a Bundy?
Fishing?
we call
No,
it
it's
a
not for
banana
fishing.
knife, and
It's for cutting carpet.
it's
And
for
faces.
For your
picking my teeth.
It's the toe knife.
It's a toe knife.
I get the
Get all
crap
this-
out of my toenails with that.
Yeah, cut my calluses with it too.
It's a
You
jam
could shave. You
spreader.
could shave your heels with that. That would be a good tool.
Yeah, that would be alright.
Okay, I wasn't crazy.
Yeah, we got a
I didn't
donation.
even notice that.
We got a
On
donation.
My knife, look at it. On the knife, it
Hidden
says
stepdad.
Richard.
Richard?
It's dick
Yeah,
Why
What?
is that significant?
because it looks
yeah.
like a limp one.
you guys wouldn't know. Fuck, whatever.
Oh, we don't know all your friends? Yeah.
That's my last name.
But we don't even know your first name.
I know.
The robot doesn't want us to know, so don't say it.
That's so funny.
Man.
Good times. Good times.
Enjoy the episode.
This
James
intro
Cruz
is
and
nowhere near as
Grimsteak.
good as the interview.
James
Oh,
Cruz
yeah.
and Grimsteak. Hey man, woo.
Oh yeah, hate no time.
G-R-I-M-S-T-A-K.
Oh, man, there's a lot.
And there's also some love mail. I
Yeah.
hear.
Come back. Felix,
James
come
Cruz
back.
and Grimsteak. Hey man,
That's the DuckTales theme song.
Yeah. Yep.
Fucking love it. Good job, Felix.
Come back to the chats, Felix.
Or fuck him. Just come on our show all the time.
Come to our Discord then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has,
Oh, yeah.
has he not come on since we kicked him off?
Who's we? Didn't Darren kick him?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't take any
Darren.
credit for that.
Why did
We didn't do
Darren
it.
kick Felix?
Because he does.
Because he kicks people?
Yeah.
He
I've
gets
gotten
bored because there's
I get kicked. I try to get kicked out every day.
if somebody
James
triggers,
about that.
if somebody
I
triggers
troll.
Darren, all you have to do is trigger him, and then everyone is at risk of being killed.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Oh, I trolled his ass today with flat Earth stuff on his Twitter. He posted the whole, there's other ways you can contribute to the show and get on the Black Budget feed. And I'm all, can I show you all of my overwhelming evidence about the truth behind flat Earth?
What is the
All right.
budget? Yeah,
This
sorry.
first hate mail is actually a fan mail from Sean Shameless to Sean Shameless. Dear Kilgar, you are the life and heart of the show. You bring a level-headed, knowledgeable, impartial, educated approach to all topics. I especially agree with your statement on the TSA. Also, Grimsteak totally wants your cock. Love me. All right.
Jeez.
Thanks, Sean, for contributing.
Wow.
We got one from Adam Loyal. It says, from Friends to Know, I hate cruising with steak more than I hate hurricane shutters. And he made an animated GIF of a little girl bashing on a house.
No relation.
Yeah!
No relation. Yeah, that's Adam's. All the first names are related. Okay, this one is from Angered Retard. It says,
You wrote one in too?
I can't send you hate mail because I'm a tard and I love you this much. Okay, thanks, bye. So there's one. This one is from Gravy Face. Mr. Gravy Face.
This is all
I love your
Jerry,
podcast.
you
It is amazing. Who is that chick with the gravelly voice? She sounds super hot. I'd love to check out them tonsils. Thanks, guys. P.S. What's your Patreon? Oh, I'm sorry, Gravy Face. We don't have a Patreon. Not yet, at least.
And,
We're working on it.
that groggly voice is not a woman.
This is from this one's from Jeebus Christ. I am the Jeebus. Jesus saves. Repent now before he returns. Okay. I'm pretty sure that was hate mail. It could have just been spam from some everyday person, but I decided to throw it in.
Rapture mail.
Rapture mail. And this is from Kelly Marie. She was just on our last episode. Charm the Water. She says, "Hey, is your hate mail song the theme song from DuckTales? Signed, Kelly. Charm the Water." Yes, Kelly. Yes, it is. I think that's a pretty good observation. All right. Who do we got?
That's synchro.
Oh, now we have a fucking a downpour of Suzanne. This one is, it just says, "I love lamp." There you go. So that's an Anchorman shout out.
Wait, human skin lampshade lamps?
Suzanne, yeah, skin lampshades, of course.
Oh man.
Another one from Suzanne. "I hate that you don't put out more episodes. Damn it, Grim and James. I need more CWS. Get it together." Support the show. Grimsteak.com/donate. We'll get them out. And this one is the last from Suzanne. "I love your show. I love how Grim knows when to interject when James can't form his thoughts into words. I love how James tries so hard and doesn't give up. We all know words are hard. Most of all, I love how authentic and loving you both are. I love you both." Oh, we love you too, Suzanne.
I love you, Grimsteak.
We love you, everybody.
I love you too, James. James, I love you.
But most importantly, we love ourselves.
Yes.
Yes.
This one's from Failed.
As much as possible.
And I haven't read this one yet.
And often.
"This show is the most unorganized piece of human shit in a litter box. I can't tell if you guys are seriously attempting to podcast or wasting your time and money. The guests are D-grade and the hosts are interrupting lunatics. I would donate to the podcast if you guys agreed to remove it and castrate yourselves with a dull knife. With love, your biggest critic." Thank you,
One of
Phil.
those yellow dick knives.
That's so great.
One more.
As long as it's dull.
This is from Ryan from the Ascended Minds Network, and he actually donated to the show too, so thank you very much. And he says, "Listen, you fucks. I work very hard to fucking elevate the fuck out of everyone and force my fucking ascension bullshit down their damn throats. It's really hard to do it when you assholes are making me spit water out of my mouth or laughing my ass off at your dumb dick jokes. You really need to tuck that shit in like Grim tucks it in on Drag Night and stick with the elevated ascension shit." So I made sure to donate in the name of the show to try and... or wait, that's a typo. In the name of the show, and try to stay in a woke fuck mindset, and so you don't have to always keep that reminder in your faces. Yes, even when you fap or naked tubcast. So take that, fuckers. Namaste, bitches. Love you guys. Thank you, Ryan. That was a great email.
Oh,
And thanks for the donation, man.
oh, and might I interject too that
Subscribe to Ascended Minds.
Yeah, and Ryan, you have still to complete your second task, so get on that.
Your third task is even worse, audio.
Unless he posted it, but it'd be funny. I got yeah.
What tasks
man.
did you assign him?
Probably
Why are
just
you
some gay
can't-
shit.
No, I can't talk about it.
It's special privileges.
Special
Does it
privileges.
involve a special purpose? Oh.
There's a higher purpose for all of us.
Yes, there's it. That's absolutely
And
true.
Ryan is on his path to ascension.
Dude, that was an amazing hate mail
It's not
segment.
ascension, it's a fucking
Are you-
escalator.
It's an escalator, damn it.
Wait, failed is channeling right now.
Mm-hmm. He is.
What? Don't talk about that like me.
You were just channeling Bashar, it sounded like.
Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator.
I like that guy. That guy gets shit done.
He does get shit done. Like
What's going on in Syria now? I haven't heard much about that.
Whoa.
Anybody got any Syria news?
Probably nothing.
Who's the other voice that I'm hearing every once in a while?
Adam?
Adam?
That would probably be me.
Oh, Adam is here too.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't said
You've been in the hives together.
Yeah, he was in the hive last night.
Oh, that Adam. Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not related to our Adam.
Baphomet, Energy Man.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting to say Mind Man.
I don't know, you guys got anything else? Should we wrap this up?
I thought we already did.
No.
I thought we did. We're just getting started.
You got anything to plug, James? I know you love pimping some shit.
I love pimping stuff. Yeah, pimp. I'll pimp. Pimp Darren's mom.
Oh, dude, you're gonna get kicked from the chats. Or that's how we'll know if he actually listens to this piece of shit.
I thought she was retired.
Yeah. Yeah, she might be retired. I don't know. I think I brought her back out.
I think all of us, by the way, if you're listening, Darren, this is Gilgar, Sean Shameless. I think all of us should post a picture of us pointing like this in the chats and tag him in it.
I found if you tag Graham about 20 times in a row, you'll get a response out of him. You just have to keep going.
I know.
I don't usually have a need to.
Yeah, neither do I. Just out of boredom on lunch or something. Nobody else
got
is
kicked
on.
out the other day because Darren was like, any good news going on? I'm like, yeah, your mom just bought me a fucking ticket up there to go see you, and I'll stop by the igloo after I have done over at her place.
Ooh, I found some fake news.
Cross-line.
Immediately got kicked out.
Oh, dude, we need a fake news jingle.
Ooh, fake news. That'd be cool.
Woo.
Travelers beware. Meth-laced 7-Up reportedly caused death in Mexico.
So we need to go buy 7-Up in Mexico. It sounds like.
Oh,
Failed. I
Or
love
should we
you.
take that as a sign not to?
I think that was our wrap it up noise.
Yes.
no, just find us on
Oh wait, yeah, pimp our shit,
grimsteak.com.
James. Yeah,
Grimsteak.com. We
all the
take
info, all the
donations.
shit. We
take
do.
Money.
I mean, if you want, we'll put your name in
We
the
take
credits
money.
forever.
I got it.
Yeah,
I have
you'll
not
become
seen
a producer
Oh,
on the show. And
true. You could put that on your LinkedIn profile.
Totally, yeah. I am a producer.
That's no
There's a
agenda.
mistake.
Shout out to No
Yeah, you
Agenda.
Find shout out to OBDM in the
Yeah.
Slack.
Dude, we're gonna be having Adam and Rob on, possibly Luke on Tuesday.
Yes.
I think he said like 7 Central,
Mm.
so it's gonna be an
Ooh,
earlier
okay.
one.
8 Eastern.
8 Eastern.
Yeah,
James.
that's good for
8
me.
Eastern and Pacific.
That's fine.
Ooh,
Yeah, I don't know.
That's gonna be a good
Shout
one.
out to Adam, friends to know. I'm glad
Yeah.
he's got power back.
Yeah, he
Good.
survived Irma.
Yep.
Dude, he was sitting on his porch with the fucking trees blowing in the background. You see that GIF he posted?
Crazy.
He's just
because there
chilling
was no-
outside.
That goes back to what I was saying about the winds. They were showing this giant hurricane on the news, and there was really
Sidetracked.
nothing going on. I had friends in Tampa too. They're laughing. They're Anderson Cooper's out there going, "Oh, I'm getting blown over," and they're like outside going, "What?"
Over.
And over and over
and over and over.
Oh.
So hard. Strictly dickly, y'all.
Oh yeah, where's Nish at?
Nish.
I think
I
I
gave her
found
there.
her.
No, I'm
I may not have put it-
strictly dickly, y'all.
Oh,
there
you
she
turn
is.
that up.
No, I'm strictly dickly, y'all.
That was the I hope Gravy Face answers me. Is that the gravelly voice you were talking about, Gravy Face?
It sounds like that's what Gravy
Fuck me
Face
hard.
is.
Fuck me hard.
Is that the one you were talking about?
Maybe it was no.
This is why I need to put timestamps when the interview starts, because a lot of RPJ's
Yeah.
fans.
She's playing with her.
This one might get some downloads.
Yeah.
She
She
got
should
a
have
new
made a
pet.
better intro. Sorry, guys.
This is a great
It was
intro.
a good intro. This is fun.
We can't spike the
You
ball
know
like
what?
that.
I'd rather listen to a bunch of dumb shits talking to each other and just talking shit than a formalized intro. It's so boring.
Yes.
Thanks,
Like,
Sean.
that's why Grimerica's great.
Or
Yes.
read the idiots on Twitter fighting about Trump.
Oh man, they're bots. Just the bots
Oh,
fighting.
Bots. Battle
It might
bots.
as well be. Might as well be.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron
Yeah,
James.
Grace. Well, yeah. Enjoy the show with RPJ. Love you guys.
Shout out to LeBron
Yeah.
James.
Bye.
Shout out to LeBron James.
Because he's a big fan, right?
Huge
Not
fan.
even close.
He's
Cruising whiskey. Get in, sit down, buckle up. Cruising whiskey. Get in, sit down, buckle up. Cruising whiskey.
His signal dropped. I saw it go.
now it's off.
Oh, he's good.
Can you still hear me?
Yep. Can hear you. No video. We're good to go.
Okay.
My signal.
That's what I was saying. I mean, because I know like I've heard you on Skype quite a bit, and like it drops and stuff happens. So I mean, Zoom. This platform's so much better. So it might
Really?
might hold in there pretty good.
There was a WikiLeaks thing today about Skype being all infiltrated.
Uh,
Go figure.
problem with Skype is that it's owned by Microsoft, so it's the it's the
Built in.
biggest gorilla.
It's owned by the deep state.
So, I know, and they don't see the need to improve it. I mean, there is Cisco web meeting and and others. There's Google Hangout, with it's like nothing.
Yeah.
Do you remember when eBay bought Skype for $3 billion?
I think it was before it was bought by Microsoft, I guess.
Yeah.
Remember Kazaa, the web?
Oh man, because that was
I
great.
remember because I never used it.
Well, they turned into Skype.
Right.
Yeah. Which, just some weird coincidences.
Oh yeah, that was on No Agenda, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think I heard that somewhere. Yeah.
And Napster became something else too now. I forget. I just heard it.
It turned into Metallica.
No. They got bought by some company who incorporated their technology. Rhapsody. Is it Rhapsody?
Oh,
Sounds
like a
familiar.
streaming thing or whatever. One of them
I think it was like an early Spotify competitor.
Right.
Yeah.
So how you hanging in down there, Red? Been pretty serious.
Well, because of the earthquake.
Yeah.
How close
And the
are you?
aftershock.
Was it an aftershock? I haven't really checked the news much in the last couple of days. I've been trying to lend a hand in some gathering place, place where they are gathering foods and supplies and medical equipment for the people who are in need.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is the one thing that is absolutely awesome of this horrible situation, that you are seeing the people who are trying their best to lend a hand, to try to show a spirit of solidarity toward, those who lost their house or, lost their apartment or, lost someone they loved. There's this think that the biggest tragedy happened here is, that there was a school in which 22 children were trapped and killed, and
God.
and this is the thing, that it's terrible that only when this kind of tragedy happens is when that kind of a spirit of empathy and solidarity flourishes among people, because most of the time, living in a city, especially in a big city like Mexico, it's one of the biggest city in the world and probably the biggest city in this continent, you are surrounded by so many people, and at the same time you're in this tiny bubble of indifference, and of you don't want no one to fuck with you, and you're driving to your work or whatever, and there's all this traffic, and it's almost like you feel hatred toward everyone that is surrounding you just for being there in your way, like blocking you. But with this, you kind of get remembered. Fuck it, we are all in this together. There's the only way in which we're going to get out of this is if we are all one arm in arm, trying to pick up the pieces of what was.
It's like you said, it's a shame it takes a tragedy to bring out the best in people like that. Like if everybody was like that all the time, we'd be doing good.
That's a lot of the stories that were coming out of Houston were quite the same.
I bet.
Solidarity and the helping out everyone else.
Well, it kind of looks like nature is going to give us a whole lot of chances to try that solidarity spirit. Huh? I mean, there's still Maria coming this way, and after that it's Jose, and after that I don't know. Fuck it, solar storm or a volcano.
Yeah, God, the CMEs have been crazy.
It's like if someone is playing some video game and saying, let's see now. Yeah, how about a typhoon here?
That big sunspot that made that big flare 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago is going to be Earth facing Saturday, the day the Earth's going to end or the world's going to end.
Oh yeah, the 23rd.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
I'm still laughing about it, but I'm not laughing that hard about that prophecy.
Yeah.
That's because you believe the sun is 93 million miles away.
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry.
But the sun is a tiny rock, right, on top of our flat Earth.
No, I'm not a flat earther. I don't know what it is. I can't believe it's that far away.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, they say in biblical terms that each phase, there needs to be something like via land, and then one in the water. I think it's two though: 2 land, 2 water, then 2 something else. To follow that prophecy.
Revere. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea.
Yeah.
Well, I have never experienced a hurricane, okay? But from my own humble perspective, there's nothing worse than an earthquake, because earthquakes are like the white sharks of natural catastrophes. You never know when this motherfucker is, beneath you, and it's going to come, dun, 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 and it's going to fucking get you. I was at around 1:14. I was working on my computer, doing something, writing something. I was writing the article that I recently posted on the Daily Grail about the interview we had with Jacques Vallée, and we can,
which was awesome.
If we want to, we can definitely move toward that, which will be much more enjoyable than this. But I was then, and then it's when I started to notice that the movements, and I say, okay, it's trembling. Okay, it's something that you are familiar with if you live in Mexico. Then when the windows started to crack or started to shake very violently, and you heard the how do you call this, the window frame started to make noises. and hearing things starting to crash down, the picture frames and all of that. I just want to say, oh fuck, this is serious. Now I say that because where I live, I live fairly away from the downtown area of Mexico, right? You will call it maybe the suburbs. And where I live, it's not really usual to feel, the very strongly when an earthquake hits. But this was what was different. I was 11 years old when the 1985 earthquake hit, and that was then the biggest one that I have ever felt. But this one was definitely stronger from my subjective perspective and scariest. I tried to get out from where I was, not knowing really what to do, and there's 20 seconds in which you are seeing this fucking thing is not stopping, and when you're contemplating, what happens? What happens if suddenly one of these fucking walls falls over me?
Like
this one, you're
fight or flight, like the
yeah.
kick, right? Like, but yeah. You kind of just like freeze, and you're like, fuck.
There's this feeling of hopelessness, of reminding yourself you're just how fucking fragile and vulnerable you really are. All of Western civilization is trying to sell you the idea that you need to be comfort and secure. But then you realize that security is a fucking illusion. No one is secure. No one is secure when you may be living in a fucking penthouse, right? A $2 million or $3 million penthouse on top of one of the best or the newest skyscrapers in Mexico. One of those motherfucker things happen. You really feel as vulnerable as the guy who is selling newspapers, down in the street.
The great equalizer.
A plane could crash into your building at any time.
Oh.
Yeah.
True.
Melt the steel beams.
Yep.
Crashing down.
Yeah, and the infrastructure of the city gets compromised somewhere. Like for example, there are a lot of people who are don't have any electricity yet, and suppose that also the water supplies could have been also compromised because the pipes could have been broken, and what do you do? All this security, all this illusion of wealth, it starts to be seen as what they are. They are illusory, and they are almost infantile in our all desperation to try to attain them. Oh, did you lose me? You're still there?
Oh yeah, no,
yep.
I'm still here. Sorry, Red. This is kind of absorbing all of that.
I didn't want to get that dramatic so quickly. Sorry.
Well, Red, your mic's a little scratchy.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, it's a cheap headphone set.
James Cruz knows all about that.
I try to hold it with one of my hands so it doesn't get tangled with my beard or my shirt.
Yeah. When we first started doing this, that's oh my god.
Yeah, James, you had those earbuds that were terrible.
Fucking earbuds, and then I had my phone going, I had the computer going, and just doing these hangouts like on Google Hangouts. Obviously now we upgraded a little bit, but
upgrade.
Yeah. Upgrade.
Yeah. So Red, how was it talking to Jacques Vallée? Let's move into that.
Yeah, it was great. It's not the first time that I've actually talked to him. I met the man last year in February when Greg Bishop and I attended the International UFO Congress. We learned that he was going to be there. We were like, holy shit, Jack Palais is going to be at the UFO Congress. And Greg said, because back then we were working on his book, It Defies Language, right? It's an anthology collection of things that he wrote as a blogger when he was collaborating in UFO Mystic, a site in which he and Nick Redfern were, the bloggers. And that's where I actually met Greg for the first time. But then, UFO Mystic kind of like died away, and Greg managed to get the rights to all of those essays. And he decided, yeah, well, I'm going to, collect them, and I'm going to organize them, edit them, and I'm going to put them out there in a book format. And he said, would you be interested in helping me, maybe creating illustrations for it? And I said, yeah, of course. And then he said, hey, how about, also making the book cover? And we were in all of that. And when we learned, okay, Jack Palais is going to be there, he said, well, we have to go and give him a copy of the book. So it became something of a pilgrimage thing, right? Almost like, I don't know, going to Skywalker Ranch and try to give George Lucas, something before the release of, the next Star Wars movie, something like that. And we went there, and it was really interesting seeing how all these seasoned ufologists, people, all these gray hairs who were there also selling books. The moment that the man was there, they all melted and turned into, giddly fanboys saying, oh my God, Jack Palais, oh my God. They're saying, oh, I think I'm going to ask him for a selfie, an autograph, And Greg and I will say, and we had to try to keep our cool. Our plan was we need to talk to the man in private, away from all these sycophants, like us. At least if it's only for 15 minutes, if we can go and have Jack Palais all to ourselves for 15 minutes, hand him the book, tell him how much of an inspiration he is for us. That's, the climax of this pilgrimage, / road trip. And we actually did, and at the last day, it was a Sunday. I don't know how Greg did it. I think that Alejandro Rojas, managed to pull some strings. And Alejandro, by the way, was very courteous and very generous and very kind to us back during the whole conference, which is kind of unbelievable because he's kind of like the master of ceremonies. He is the MC trying to organize these 3-ring circles. And he does it very well. I think by now he has mastered it. And at the same time, he's still a nice guy who's trying to really see that everybody is really, getting what they were paying for, right? So we had the valet. We sat with him on the morning of the Sunday morning, and we knew that he was going to return to San Francisco that day. And also we knew that he was kind of tired, so we say, okay, we're not going to, have him for a lot of time. We're just going to, say a few things, show him the book and all of that. And at that time, I let Greg do most of the talking. I felt that for him, it was far more important, this experience than to me, even though that Greg has actually talked to Valet on a few other occasions. But I was too starstruck, I was too, like, oh my God, I'm sitting here right next to this legend, someone who, I've read about and I've seen on videos for all these years, and here he is. And it was fantastic. I wrote about it on another previous essay, and a few things that Greg and I decided that we will keep a secret. Not because Valet like handed us the secrets of the UFOs or anything like that, right? But it's because there's things that maybe matter only to the two of us, and that has to do with things that we are still in the process of figuring out or investigating, if you know what I mean. So that was then, and now, I don't know how Darren and Graham managed to actually get Valet's contact info, and they asked him if he wanted to be on the show, and surprisingly enough, Valet accepted. And that's credit to these guys. They didn't feel intimidated. They just go, fuck it. Let's just ask and see what happens, and they got it. And when they said, you want to be join us on this one, I was like, fuck yeah.
Definitely.
Bitch, are you kidding me? So I tried
Kinda
to
like me.
yeah. So it was with all of my UFO friends, of these guys who are part of the field, and say, okay, what would you ask Valet if you had the chance, right? And everybody sent me, a few of those sent me, a huge list of, ask him about this, ask him about this. Oh, you definitely have to ask him about this. So I had amassed this whole list of questions to ask him, a part of some of my own things that I wanted to ask to him. It was a huge list, I don't know, 20, 30 questions easily. I still have it there on my Google documents. And okay, so we have him on the show, and I soon realized that whenever we ask him something, he is taking his time. He is, we let him talk and he goes for 5-10 minutes answering a single question. And that's moment saying, well, it's obviously that we're going to, we're not going to go and cross all of these questions I have on the list, but let's see how it goes, right? And Graham and Darren were courteous enough to let me be at the helm of this interview, right? They said, you go and you do most of the talking. And I was definitely trying to make Valet go into the certain, deep, esoteric things about the UFO phenomenon that I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in, what do you think about the state of ufology these days? No, I want to know, I want to really milk the knowledge of this man who has been, at the forefront of the field for the last, 40, 50 years, and see, kind of like what is his perspective from that vantage point. And also because obviously he and I share our contempt for the extraterrestrial hypothesis, something that, by the way, obviously Graham probably is not in the same camp, right? Graham, I think he still has the illusion or the hope that UFOs are ETs.
Nuts and bolts.
They went, the same way that his idol saint Stephen Greer, keeps telling to his flock.
We were just talking about that last night.
Yeah, so I say, fuck it, this is going to be definitely an anti-ETH, exploring the fringer possibilities kind of discussion. And it really went beyond my wildest expectations. He was talking about the material samples, which, by the way, that was something that, Graham started to say, well, he's been talking about this, let's ask him about this. And he's going and saying all this stuff about the isotopes that I know that he's been trying to explain to people on previous radio conversations, and also when he went and had he was one of the speakers in Contact in the Desert. And I remember, even Ben from Mysterious Universe, when he starts talking about isotopes and things and metallurgical analysis, everybody's eyes starts to glaze, right? Because you want to hear with Valet, you want to hear, you want to have UFO porn, right? You want to have stories. That's why most of the people, get interested in the first place. You want to have, the hot chaff. But then when he went into the punchline and said, what we're finding is that this mineral seems to have been re-engineered in a way that doesn't really make any sense, because their isotopes do not correspond neither to Earth metals nor extraterrestrial, samples that could come or be originated on a meteorite. And for some reason, in that moment, it hit me. It was kind of an eureka moment, and say, okay, what this man is saying is that these metal samples maybe were somehow manifested by the phenomenon, materialized out of thin air. And I asked the question, and the guys say, yeah, this is what it seems, that the phenomenon seems to not only be able to manipulate space and time the way that we know fully well, with all these stories of lost time and all these things of people who are, all this folklore of people who go to fairyland, and they thought that they were there for only a day or two, and then they return, and a whole 2 years or 10 years or 100 years happen. But not only that, the phenomenon also seems to be capable of transforming energy into matter and vice versa. And that is, to me, that is far more interesting, confounding, amazing than saying, oh, well, the aliens come from Zeta Reticuli B or whatever, and they have a fusion engine run by unobtainium, in the ship, and that's how they manage to, focus the gravity waves the way that Robert Lazar was explaining. Remember back in the 90s when
the Area 51.
yeah.
Peeling the atom off at a time and throwing it down the tube.
So this is way beyond that.
So they don't come in a blue bubble?
Dude, I had a dream about blue bubble. Oh, wait. I had a question.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I'll think of it. Energy to matter. That in and of itself is possible by slowing down energy. So is it possible that these things, called the other, are making time bubbles or altering the time-space continuum of this realm?
Could be. I mean, we know because of a man, who used to work on a patent office and have a funny mustache called Albert Einstein. We know fully well that energy and matter are basically the same thing. We know that releasing a shitload of energy is possible if you divide, uranium atoms. Trying to do the reverse is far more difficult. It seems to take a whole lot more energy. Try to, kind of like bottling the genie again. You know what I mean? But maybe gravity is at the center of the trick, because it's funny how still in the 21st century you have the relativity theory, you have quantum mechanics, right? And they work really well in a separate way, but so you're trying to combine them, and you run into all sort of problems. But if you ask both questions, both theories, but what is gravity? We still don't get a very definitive answer. So maybe by controlling gravity, you manage to not only to manipulate the space-time continuum, but to also reverse kind of like the I don't want to say the polarity, but want to reverse the axis in which energy and matter are kind of
focus of the gravity, the gravitational focus center,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, maybe. And
Have you ever heard of
all of this, if you think also, guys, about the multiverse or more dimensions, being surrounding us, kind of like if you think of flatland, and if you think that we are the guys who are living in a flatland, then the power of a being that is above flatland, the apple that is looking at the square, living in flatland,
the shadow casters.
Yeah, the abilities that these beings will have will appear to us to be almost godlike, right? A being that is not constrained the same way we are by the chains of time and space will appear to be, not only immortal but also omniscient and omnipotent. I mean, the same being will appear before your grandfather, and then your father, and then you, and then your children's children's children's. And from the perspective of the being, it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I think that I was really interested when I listened to that interview with Ballet and George Knapp, and when Ballet said, I suspect that this phenomenon, what it represents is it shows us that our space-time continuum, in other words, our flatland cage, is only a tiny subset of a bigger reality. And as someone who uses the moniker Red Pill Junkie, someone who considers him to be a Gnostic, that sounded a lot like the ancient Gnosticism lore, that to saying, okay, UFOs are real, we are the illusion. In other words, UFOs come from a realm which is more real than this three-dimensional reality. And do you guys remember what happens with near-death experiences? Near-death experiences are very very complex and very varied. Not everyone has the same near-death experiences. Not
They're very
everyone
subjective.
Yeah, but there is one incontrovertible commonality among all of these near-death experiences. They always say, the people who come back to tell them, that felt more real than this reality. It was a hyper sense of reality. It's almost as if their consciousness was finally freed from this kind of like dull filter by which we experience the world. And that dull filter is our meat body, that is limited by 5 very crude senses. When you have the sense of smell, we have the sense of touch, we hear things in a very limited way, we see things in a very, very narrow spectrum of the electromagnetic radiation. If you're free of that and you experience reality in its totality, it's almost as if someone was taking a blinders out of you, and you were managed to finally see colors for the first time.
You can see the Matrix.
You see the Matrix, you see you finally see energy the way that Carlos Castañeda explained in his books. The universe is nothing but strains of energy, coming all over. So time and space are an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely.
Everything is one, like Grant Cameron told to us, last night when Grimerica had him on their show. And
you guys talked to Grant Cameron? Nice.
Yeah. It's going to be a doozy. It was a doozy, and I think you guys will get a lot of it. We had the man for 2.5 hours, I guess.
Oh, he can talk,
and if
man.
Grant,
Yes. He
Yes,
can
he
go
can.
on. Yeah.
I love that guy. Are you
Yeah.
guys gonna do a black budget episode, or is it that?
No, I
crazy?
think it's going to be it's going to be a free show.
Yeah, just regular show. Man.
Hmm.
Wait, he's got a new book coming out right now, doesn't he? Or I think he's
Yeah, the Charlie Red Star.
yeah.
I think it's already out.
Yeah, he's making the circuits. He's been making the
Isn't he
rounds.
doing something with Linda Moulton Howe now too. They're touring together. I thought I saw that.
No, I hope not, because
I know-
Linda Moulton Howe. There was a time, and a place when she made a good contribution to the UFO field, but I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Something happens if you stay too long in this field. You
Yeah.
start to, lose your marbles, or you lose your sense of reality.
You lose
Mhm.
sanity points.
You lose
Yeah.
sanity.
You're just
You need to keep. You
so-
need something to keep you grounded.
Yeah.
So this NDE thing's interesting to me because it's something I'm exploring on my show.
Hmm.
How different do you think it is from the dream state?
That's a really, really good question. Very difficult to answer, because, and we also mentioned that yesterday with Grant, because if you look at the UFO phenomenon in its totality, you have obviously the sightings of objects in the sky, the close encounters of the first or even the second kind, which are interesting, but not as interesting as the close encounters of the third kind, or even fourth or fifth if you go into that avenue. But when there's a line you cross in which high strangeness starts to appear in the data sets, and some researchers get so uncomfortable by it that they decide to weed it out. Maybe you say, some farmer in Iowa saw a UFO and even saw an alien coming out of the craft, and it left of traces on the field. Oh, great! But then if they learn that the same farmer had a precognitive dream the day before, or maybe had a vision of seeing his dead mother on board the craft, that is the kind of thing that they tend to eliminate. So there is this high strangeness thing, and there is this way in which the phenomenon behaves that doesn't really make sense from the perspective of extraterrestrial visitors who are coming to this planet to take your pick, make a survey, to collect samples, to make a scientific assessment of our planet, or even if you want to go there,
Make
to
hybrids.
colonize our planet, or even to tend to their farm, their farm animals, right?
Soul harvester.
Right.
Exactly. But none of that makes sense when you take into consideration the high strangeness. How does it make sense for extraterrestrial explorers to come all the way from any star in the galaxy you want to pick and go and give pancakes to a chicken farmer?
I was just thinking about the freaking pancakes.
Fucking Joe Simonton, man. Pancakes. You're
I know, he
kidding me.
made it pancakes. And what did he say? Oh, they needed salt.
They taste like cardboard.
That's it. But what you're saying, though, basically, is that there's a consciousness component. And
I think so, yeah.
that I do too. And that's what's ignored by materialist science, or scientism, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Stanton
problem.
Friedman's.
Ne'er the twain shall meet. You got the nuts and bolts guys, you got us, the anti-ETH people.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And it makes me wonder that, are we manifesting these things? Are these aspects of our consciousness, aspects of the collective consciousness, archetypes? Are they individual entities? Are they part of us or separate? Is it an AI? There's like a billion questions in there.
Yeah. And the mystic will say yes. To all of us. Yeah.
That's
It's
kind
all
of
one big
it's like
enchilada.
whatever you believe is going to be true for you.
Yeah. I mean, if you go to the idea that consciousness is primordial, separation of self is an illusion. That you guys and I and everybody who listening to this and everybody living on this planet and everybody, every conscious being in the universe is a single emanation from a unified source, almost like a single facet of a multifaceted diamond,
Tentacle of a multi-tentacled octopus.
Yeah. like maybe like the cells of a single being, right? And some of them are maybe closer to the brain, or some of them are closer to the anus. Probably in our case, we're closer to the anus and the intestine tract.
I would disagree with that.
So if you go there, then it's obvious that this intelligence and ourselves are in a way entangled, if you want to use that term, the quantum term. And I think that it has its attractiveness, in a way that show that something may seem to be separate, but in the same way they're not. There's a link to it. Although, as you were saying, it is an immaterial link. There's nothing really connected to it.
True, but quantum entanglement is now defined mathematically, so it can exist. Therefore, if we are part of, say, source, quote unquote source, then we are quantumly entangled with each other.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you guys a question. Have you listened to that wonderful video of Grant Morrison at the Disinfocon in the year 2000?
Oh yeah.
And you see how he says, when he had this conversation with these, interdimensional beings that adopted him, and that explained to him that everything in this universe is nothing but a larvae of a greater being that is in the process of creation. That if you see every single being, and if you see it from a perspective outside of time, you will see it as some kind of like a worm, right? Jesus. From the moment that you're created to the moment that you apparently dies, almost like those Hindu paintings.
The long bodies.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yep, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah. And the first time that I listened to that, I remember that movie, the movie Donnie Darko.
Yes, so the tubes and shit. Oh.
Mr. Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that movie, I felt that there was some moment when I was obsessed with that movie. I said, "Oh my god, this is."
Yeah. It was so good. It was so ahead of its time. Like it was awesome when it first came out.
I still haven't seen it.
Oh my god, man!
Gotta watch it.
You need to watch it.
I have it queued up.
Viral internet campaigns back in the day too. It had a weird go find this trade. Yeah, you had to go on. Yeah, it was search for that online and shit, man. Yeah, it was one of the first kind like that.
Awesome.
Oh, they had the scavenger hunt attached to the ad campaign. Yeah, I remember that.
It was crazy. I totally remember. Yeah, it's like they always had that weird ass face, and you're like, "What the fuck is it?"
Yeah, it was very deceiving and very clever, like you said. The way that they promoted the movie, almost like trying to blur the lines between fiction and because between fantasy and reality. And the best art usually does that.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed about Stranger Things this year, how they're releasing it. I can't just binge watch it.
Why not?
They're releasing it once a week.
Binge watch it when they're done.
Yeah, but then I gotta wait longer, and the temptation, seeing it just thrown at me on Netflix.
I still haven't watched Rick and Morty. I'm waiting until the season's over.
Yeah, me neither. I want to binge watch Rick and Morty.
Oh, it's so good, Red. You'll love it.
I love it.
Version.
I've seen the 2 episodes.
The first two seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine, Jack Cusumano. He's one of the. He's involved in that show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's incredible, how refined and how intelligent it is, that show, from the perspective of the science fiction that they portray. It's really mind bending, when they go and really explore, the multiverse and the Ricks and the evil Ricks and
the Citadel,
intelligence.
everything.
The episode in which they are inside a simulation, and then you thought you were in the simulation.
Yeah,
No, you were in the simulation of the simulation.
There's a guy on YouTube who says that that's exactly what we're in. We're like 20 levels deep.
Yep, and I'm moving toward that idea. It's a metaphor, right? The idea, we're in a computer simulation. We use these metaphors in order to try to make sense of shit and try to come a little closer to reality. Although I believe that as human beings, we will never actually be able to, harness the whole truth.
I think we're one step away from pretty much just creating our own realities ourselves. Once we can get consciousness inside of that AI, it's I don't know.
It's not already.
Yeah, if it isn't, who knows? It's crazy because you play like any MMO or any kind of video game, like just the interaction you could have with NPCs, knowing that they have that kind of technology to make that right now. I ask people to their face if they're NPCs sometimes. Are you an NPC?
Answer this question, please.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Have you ever thought about yourself being an AI? No, you are an AI.
Yeah, well, that's the what's the name of this movie? Blade Runner kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Blade Runner. I saw the new trailer. It looks good.
Does look good. Yeah. I'm ashamed to admit I've never seen the original.
For shame.
Oh, you should watch it and watch the director's cut too. Red, I was going to ask you about Rick and Morty. It has a deep esoteric underlayer to it. I don't know how deep it is, but it's there. I mean, you could see it. One thing I noticed is like they use a lot of numbers, their home universe is C-137, which is also the symbol for cesium-137, which I'm pretty sure the atomic clock runs off of here.
And it's going deep with numerology, Jerry.
Well, no, it's not numerology; it's chemistry. But the 137 numerologically has meaning to Freemasons. I mean, it's a number that gets thrown around. But there's I can't think of any other instances right now. But there's just a lot of tree of life, like Kabbalah, built into the background of it. It seems.
I pay attention to numbers. For example, I'm fascinated by the fact that 1973 was the year of the humanoids, right? There was a lot of weird shit and weird sightings of beings all over the world, especially in the United States and Pennsylvania. And, obviously I'm biased by it because I was born in October the 3rd, 1973. So you have the 7 and the 3 and the 1 there, right?
7, the 3, and the 1.
And also, I'm obsessed with other numbers like 333. I remember there was this time when I used to suffer. Well, I guess I still do from time to time. Well, of sleep paralysis, right? I remember when I used to have a clock on my nightstand, and I remember when I managed to free myself or wake up from one of those sleep paralysis, that it was exactly at 3:33, and I felt, this has to mean something.
Did you ever encounter any entities in those sleep paralysis states?
No,
but you got lucky.
They still scare the crap out of me.
I bet. That always with the Hat Man and the old hag, and how many people have actually seen that? It's crazy.
I heard Thomas Sheridan say recently that he thought that shadow people were the guilt of people who'd had abortions.
Oh,
it's interesting.
I thought so.
Have you seen that documentary on Netflix, Nightmare?
No.
Oh, highly, highly, highly recommended.
All right.
And I also remember in Mysterious Universe, Ben and Aaron once discussed a letter that someone sent them about how a guy who had managed to master lucid dreaming to a point that he, went to the lucid dreaming or rather, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't lucid dreaming. It was out of body experiences. So he went
Night
OBE,
terrors.
and the whole purpose to went OBE is because he wanted to have sex with, his neighbors. And I remember that it was one day when he met one of those neighbors in a store, and the neighbor, the female neighbor, saw him, and she just froze, in fear. And they wonder, this guy speculated, could it be that when he is in an OVE state, the people who are seeing him as an OVE will see him as a shadow person.
That's crazy. Just being able to like project your fucking energy or something and manifest yourself. That's
Or
nuts.
he couldn't project enough energy, or he had blockages in his chakra system that he couldn't do it properly. There's a lot of reasons why you can't manifest fully.
Yeah. Maybe you don't have enough energy, like you said, and
Jerks off too much.
Can't get it.
Too much jerking off? Or not
there's
enough
that
jerking off?
idea, right? That you
that
need
idea,
to
right?
fast and you need to live a life of celibacy in order to really improve or to cultivate your psychic ability, right? And as interesting as that may be, I guess I will never figure it out because
Yeah,
I just like
I don't think it's true.
drink too much.
I think it's I don't think you should drink, but I don't think anyone should drink. But I think it's more of a realizing how you communicate with that ability, more so than being cleansed or having a positive charge or negative charge. Whatever bullshit they come up with, which is mostly sold to you. What I found, it's more of a connecting with that aspect of your brain, your psyche, whatever, and listening to it. Just being able to pick up on those intuitive thoughts.
And you know what else I think it's key in all of this, the ego thing. The intention. What is your purpose in trying to achieve all of this? Do you want to have the ability to have lucid dreams? Because you want to have tons of sex and you want to go and kill your employee in a dream-like environment? Do you want to know about esoteric knowledge and occultism, and you are drawing sigils because you want to win the lottery or win a Ferrari? Kind of like the thing. One of the things which movements like The Secret totally repel me. Or do you want to harness that for selfless reasons? I remember back when I was starting to read Castañeda, and I was working on an office, in which the secretary and I were good friends, and she once told me about this guy she once knew, and I guess a guy that she had, strong feelings towards him, not as a friend, right? Because the guy was, when she met him, he was going through rough time and all of that. So, and I realized that she was talking about someone I actually knew, right? Completely from a different social circle. And I actually hadn't seen that guy in quite a while. It's a guy who I used to meet for a couple of weekends. He and I went to the same sports gym, right? And then the guy will go away, and I will not see him for months. So when I told this woman, after she told me about this guy, and I told her I know this guy, and she said, "Oh, if you meet and if you see him, tell him, that I still remember him. I wish him well, and yada yada yada, right?" And I just knew that I will see this guy the very next weekend. Like this woman and I were talking about this guy, I don't know, on a Friday, and I just knew that I will see him on Saturday to deliver the message, and it happened. You could say it was synchronicity, was precognitive, or that I actually, tried to use my intention in a, Castañeda kind of way in order to facilitate that reunion. So anyway, I met him. I say, "Hey, do you remember so and so?" "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm working with her, and she sends her regards." So I think the ego and doing this out of selflessness is important, because I feel that with the contactees and also even with people, you see figures like Uri Geller, right?
Yeah.
The guy may have had, or he still may have, true abilities, but he's using it in order to make a profit, in order to become famous and become a celebrity. And that, I feel, that messes with the transmission, if you know what I mean.
Oh, totally good. Picks up
I
those
agree 100%.
those bad vibes. If you have good intentions in your thoughts, good things will happen.
I never do magic for myself.
Mm-hmm.
We do this podcast on the opposite of fear. We putting out love and light out there.
Dude, love. Yes,
I know
love
that.
and good vibes. Cosmic love.
But not in a new agey way.
Overplayed, but
No, we don't have
Yeah, I
any
know.
crystals or anything.
It's part of something bigger, right? All of these things that we are all doing.
yeah.
You guys with your podcast, myself when I started to get involved with what I call the paranormal blogosphere, more than 10 years ago. I mean,
Wow.
I started to become a regular member of the Daily Grail in April of 2007. And after that, Greg Taylor said, "Hey, do you want to become one of the admins?" And at first I was like, "Oh, I don't know." But then I said, "You know what? Fuck it,
Yeah.
I'll do it." Best fucking decision I've ever made in my life. Because it opened up so much of the world that I didn't know that I needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, if you wanted to put it in these terms, it's almost like we've all have met each other in previous lives, and we are now using this wonderful tool called the internet to connect with each other, to reconnect with our tribe, which is now disseminated all over the world, in order to continue our mission.
You said it best, man. I try to really.
Yes, you did. That was great.
I'm like, how the hell? I'm like, you're only as good as the technology is at that time,
Yep.
to explain certain things. So I'm like, as I go around, I'll try to tell people, like, yeah, okay, yeah, somebody might live somewhere else, but God, they could have lived right next door. Imagine if everyone you knew lived on your street. It'd be the most badass street ever. But maybe at one point it was. I don't know, as far as finding people and branching out, I mean, this is the tool to do it. That mass head communication type, neural link.
We're all neuro linked.
The internet could just be. Sean and I were talking about this last night. That I think that I strongly feel that the internet is an expression of the connection we don't have anymore. Maybe called telepathy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we built this tool to replace that. We didn't know why we built it.
Yeah.
But it filled that role now. And maybe it's just a set of training wheels that it's going to help us become more telepathic or more psychic, more psionic, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. And it's going to tear apart our previous civilization in order to build a new one. I mean, what I mean by that is, I remember back in 2012, everybody was saying, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
The Mayan calendar, man, December
We're done,
21st.
so.
What the fuck's going to happen, right?" And everybody's saying, "Oh well, it's going to be solar storm, or there's going to be a fucking Stargate polar, and and the fucking Nephilim are going to come, and shit's going to get down." All of that, right? And I remember I wrote something on my Daily Grail blog saying, "Well, maybe my favorite way to think of the end of the world is suppose that by December the 21st, on the morning of December the 21st, or the morning of December the 22nd, we all wake up and we realize that we all can hear each other's thoughts. We've all become telepaths, and there are no more secrets to hide to people inside the cabinets of our brain."
So sweet.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be the end of the world as we currently know it? Because our world, guys, our civilization is based on lies. It's based on secrecy.
Wouldn't that drive many people insane, though? Sorry, James.
For sure.
No, you just would never need this fucking computer ever again. I mean, there are a couple of cool things like digitally. Well, I know you're a designer, stuff like that. I mean, and there's certain, obviously, it's a tool, but we're using it for something completely different, And then, yeah, fuck, man, that would be badass.
The things that the designers.
It would be badass. It will be horrible, at the same time. I mean. Imagine living in a world with no secrets, in a world in which privacy is a thing of the past. And guess what? It's going that way.
Finding out that every conspiracy theory you ever heard was true. Right? I mean, seriously, what percent end up being true?
Oh man, blue avians.
Oh geez, don't go there.
Or more horrifyingly enough, realizing that there actually are no big conspiracies. There are no one at the helm, and this thing is, running on autopilot.
Well, just a bunch of stupid monkeys floating on this rock.
That's actually my going.
Exactly. And one of those monkeys, is hitting the gas pedal, and we are going to the cliff, and oh fuck that monkey! Someone get that fucking monkey!
And we're in the back seat, right? Don't look now, but we're about to be killed. I remember that from a Three Stooges episode.
He's going to turn on the sun when it should be off. Fucker.
The simulated sun.
Yes. Yeah. The Truman Show switch, man. Like, shit.
Yeah. But if we go with the things that we've been discussing this night, if time and space are an illusion, if energy and matter are also an illusion, then maybe free will is also an illusion, and everything is part of a plan that is not it's not manipulated by humans. It's kind of like going on its own design, right? All has to happen for a reason, and all is perfectly calculated. There is no such thing as chance. There is no such thing as randomness. Everything is perfectly calculated, and everything will happen. That's the way it should.
Would you like to hear a crazy theory along those lines?
Yeah, please.
I heard someone say this on YouTube. I can provide you the links. This person stated that in the future, we are there, but we don't remember how we evolved or whatever, got to that point, not evolved, but how we technologically advanced to that point. Too many generations had passed, and they'd forgotten their past, but they knew that some cataclysm had happened. They developed a DNA, an ancestral simulation system that works off of DNA. And they built this system and put themselves into it, their DNA, to review what happened so they know what happened to them, where they came from and their ancestry, because there's some upcoming event, according to this person, that is that cataclysm. So going along your lines about predestination, basically, is that we're in a simulation. What we are in is a life review for our future ancestors.
That is interesting. It goes in the way of the thinking of that Jesuit priest and theologist Teilhard de Chardin, who was talking about the omega point. This kind of like
right.
basically the idea that God is in the process of becoming. We are part of God, and God, from the perspective of God, God is kind of like harnessing all of creation and gathering it to where He is, which is at the end of time, and all that also links to the things that Terence McKenna was saying with his time wave zero theory. The problem with the time wave zero theory is that he decided to give him a specific date, which turned out to be wrong, or was it? Because I tend to think that after 2012, the world has changed in so many ways, that I feel that things are accelerating so rapidly nowadays, and I don't feel that is just a subjective appraisal from my part. I'm almost 44 years old, and obviously from my perspective, seeing that there's few years ahead of me than they are behind, you will say, yeah, well, things are moving so forward, and because I'm closer to my grave. But no, I actually feel the world is moving so rapidly that it's scaring the shit out of us.
This person also goes on to talk about that exact thing, in saying that they've accelerated. The way it works is that as you approach this omega point, the way he describes it is basically two cones end to end. So it's a cone out and a cone in. So the nexus point there. As we approach that, the future is coming at us just as fast, because time is a loop. It's got some interesting theories. I think the dude did way too many mushrooms, but I'm happy to share his information because I think everybody has a little bit of truth.
Yeah, I think that the way that I started to see the UFO question, guys, is I feel that someone has sprinkled little clues all over this landscape. We're trying to gather them down, and then I remember that there were years ago, one of my biggest pleasures was, go to blogs, in which I will read something interesting. Like, for example, Mike Clelland's Hidden Experience blog. I don't know if you guys have read it.
But I'm a fan of Mike.
I have.
Okay, and I used to read Mike's blog posts religiously. I became obsessed with the guy, and there were times when my biggest joy was saying, when someone like Mike or someone just comment saying, oh, something like that, something, and I will come and say, this thing you're saying reminds me of this other thing that I found on this other website or in this other blog, or someone who commented, or this movie that you guys might have not seen, or this case that I have read, and maybe you guys haven't read it because I read it in a Spanish magazine and you guys don't speak Spanish or whatever. And I felt almost like a fucking Fortean matchmaker, right? Trying to help people connect dots, happen to say, hey, you are into this point A. I found this point C, maybe if you see this point C, you don't have to spend so much time trying to find the point B, right? And I also started to feel that UFO cases were like onions, right? In which there are many different layers. Like there are layers about UFO close encounter sightings that are deeply personal to the person who experienced it. That it's only intended for that person. But at the same time, I also started to suspect that maybe some aspects of those of cases were intended for other people like us who read about them 30, 50, 100 years after they happened, and then become relevant to us, and we experience synchronicities, and then we start to connect the dots. Like
knowledge.
we're all part of this team, and we're the biggest goal we should aspire is not trying to solve the whole shebang. I mean, let's forget about it. We will never be able to solve this thing, at least in this lifetime. But maybe we can manage to move the football at least 1 yard, toward the other team's goal line. Then we did our part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you guys helped out a lot with that book, reframing the debate. Like
that's great.
just changing thinking about this whole phenomenon and everything.
Well, it was what he was talking about trying to connect dots is exactly why I started the Hive, if you remember.
Yeah,
because I wanted to get
different
people
perspectives
from together with the Sin People theory, with the Flat Earth people, with everyone together, and go, "Hey, idiots! Look, it's this box. We just have to call it that for now. We'll fill in the blocks later." Because we're not all going to figure it out.
Nope.
And let me tell you, with the book Reframing the Debate, it was a big honor. Probably right now is the biggest honor of my life, being part of that book. And the reason is because I feel it's going to be totally forgotten in 10 years. Only a handful of people will say, "Oh, yeah, that book, that was pretty good, good contributions and whatever." Everybody is going to forget about it. My biggest hope is that 50 years from now, some estranged kid, in his teens, like myself was, is maybe going to find it in his grandfather's library, and he's going to sweep all the dust from the cover. He's going to read about it, and he is going to have his fucking mind blown. And he's going to have that fire that is burning inside us kindled. You know what I mean? He's going to carry that fucking torch.
Yeah. Awesome.
He's there somewhere. He's 9 or 10 right now.
Sure.
I had a question for you.
Okay.
So along those lines of us being here as a team, how many actual real people are here?
What do you mean?
How many team members are there? I know you don't have an answer. I just think, what are your thoughts about that whole concept?
I don't know, man. The concept started to grow on me, or started to solidify in me when I went to my first Paradigm Symposium in 2012. Right? At the time, we were all, all this interaction I had with people in the Fortean blogosphere, as I call it, was interactions with letters, words on my screen, sometimes, voices in my head when I, used to Skype with people sporadically. But it becomes kind of like a onanistic relationship. You know what I mean? You're jerking off with your head, and there's a point in which you realize you need more. You need to actually meet with the people of your tribe. You actually need to go and shake their hands. You need to look them in the eyes. You know, you need to listen to their voice
And the clips, maybe.
yeah, and and
You asshole.
and break bread with them. You know, share a beer.
Yeah.
That's when Micah started to say, you know, back in 2012, yeah, we're going. If the world is going to end, let's make sure we make the best goddamn farewell party we have, and that's going to be the Paradigm Symposium. And I say, fuck it, I need to be there. You know,
We'll go.
I need to finally meet these guys.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment it was a difficult proposition for me because, you know, I live in Mexico, right? You know, we Mexicans, we don't earn as much money as you guys in the United States because we live in a developing country. Even though I you know, I happen to be someone with a college degree, and I have, you know, being involved in architectural firms, developing millions of projects that are worth millions of dollars. You know, nevertheless they pay us peanuts. I was with that, and I said, well, I need to find a way to buy my trip to Minnesota. And that's when one of the first times that I listened to that video of Grant Morrison that I mentioned earlier, you know, the guy when he's speaking about sigils, you know, and saying, you know, don't you just listen to my bullshit, you know, just do it. And I said, okay, motherfucker, I'm going to go and try to draw my sigil that I want to go and meet my friends in Minnesota. And I kid you not, guys, I guess it was less than 3 weeks later, maybe 2 weeks, I received an email from Benjamin Grundy from Mysterious Universe asking me to become a writer for Mysterious Universe.
Oh man, that's
and I'll tell you
awesome.
what, guys. I mean, it's not that, you know, these guys, you know, pay a lot of money to their writers. You know, they pay fairly, you know, but that money came real handy when the time came to go and, you know, purchase my plane ticket to Minnesota. So all of these things, and then when we met in Minnesota, you know, I met Micah, I met Ben, I met Aaron, you know, I met Chris, Matt Oakley, Cassidy Nicholas, Scotty Roberts, John Ward. You know, John Ward was quite a character. It really felt like, you know, we are all supposed to be here. This is not, you know, a random accident. We are here for a reason. We felt so at ease so quickly. It's almost like a family reunion, a reunion of a family that has never met before. So I guess to answer to your question, how many people are out there? I don't know. I guess more than we actually realize, you know, and the fact that we are speaking right now, it's testament to that.
Yeah. You've been to the what is that, Paramania that Greg Bishop does? That what that is?
He doesn't do it, you know.
Well, it's like kind of a spontaneous like thing. I want to hear it on Mysterious Universe.
Yeah, one of his, you know, long-term fans, you know, Radio Misterioso fans, Steve Ray. He lives in Texas, and he's quite a character, you know. I love him dearly, you know. It's really interesting to listen to him, but and at one time, out of the blue, he told Greg, you know, hey, if I were to fly you to Dallas, where I live, will you be willing to speak to a bunch of people, you know, about, you know, the kind of stuff that you discuss in your show?
Sure.
And Greg says, but yeah, of course. And then Tim Binal, you know, the guy who hosts Binal of America, which is also a great podcast, heard of that, and out of that start to snowball and say, well, fuck it, you know, there's let's make this a gathering, a salon. Let's make this an unconference. Let's make this the kind of thing that people enjoy the most when you go to a UFO conference. Because let's be honest, guys, UFO conferences are fairly expensive. They cost, I don't know, $300, $400, and that's just for attending to the conference. Then it's the hotel, the meals, and also if you have to fly or you have to actually get to the location. So you're speaking to at least $1,000 for just going to a given conference. Not a lot of people have $1,000 and 3 or 4 days to spend, just to go to a conference. What's happening with millennials is that they decide to skip the conference and get all of that information for free on the internet, which will be where it will eventually go. Everything that it said on the conference will eventually be available for free on the internet. And that is the reason why UFO conference, paranormal conference, are really having a hard time trying to stay afloat. Maybe the only exception is the International UFO Conference, but that's like, the exception that confirms the rule.
Contact.
Sure. But I tell you, the reason why people should go to a UFO conference at least once in their lifetime is not to listen to Stanton Friedman or Richard Dolan give a conference. I mean, it is a thrill to actually go and say, oh my God, I'm in the same room as these guys. And it's great. But the real reason is when you happen to catch someone like Richard Dolan on the hotel bar.
Yeah.
And they are approachable and they say, oh, and you sit near to them and they start to talk about things in a very informal way. And that is the real crux. And also when other people go there and they start to share their experiences with you, because a lot of people who are interested in the UFO phenomenon are because they had experiences of their own, right? They had a sighting or a close encounter or something happened to a relative, a friend, whatever. That connectedness is the reason why you should go to a conference. And that is the thing that we wanted to emulate with Paramania.
We should go on that cruise with Micah right now. We're all
I definitely would like to.
Is it a paranormal cruise or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Fucking sweet, man. Yeah.
Well, who was saying that we should have a conference? Was it Sean? No. Someone told me the other day you should put together a conference.
That'd be awesome.
Grim America could do the conference, maybe.
I thought it was you, Grim. Whatever.
It probably was.
We could do a cruise.
GrimCon?
A cruise? We'll have to talk to Holiday Maker Travel.
Hey,
Micah hooked me up.
Cruise with steak.
Cruising with steak. Well, we get an RV and we'll just go around and we'll meet up with everybody and we'll do.
Dude, we have like 6 listeners. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, well, you have 6 to 10 people, but if you have 6 and 10 people chatting in a bar, having a good time,
right?
That to me is a successful conference.
I would think so.
On top of what you said there too, the energy when you're with those people that but you've never met, that just solidifies your relationship even further.
Yeah.
And plus, you get, if I got to sit down next to Richard Dolan, it would be awesome to talk to him. But you've also made a contact there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm that dude met in the bar in Toronto or whatever. Remember we shared a hooker? Yeah.
That bucket list.
I hit palms. Remember me?
Yeah. One of my most. I don't have a good memory about my life, you guys. I don't know what it is. I mean, I can recite some things that I've read on books that I read 10 years ago, maybe even verbatim. I remember whole quotes from movies. Just don't ask me the names of the people I went to school, in elementary school.
God,
I don't know why.
Same here, dude. Yeah, I can barely remember half the kids I went to school with.
But one of the things that I hope I will remember always is in October of 2013. Yeah, I guess it was 2014, when we were at the Hilton in Minneapolis, where we were all gathering at the Paradigm Symposium, and I think that was the best venue ever for the Paradigm. It was a great lobby. It was ample. It was open all night. It was cozy. You could, move chairs and make circles of people, and they were all gathering there. And I remember, we were there at 3 a.m. No one was bothering us. No one was saying, hey, cut it out. You're making too much noise. You have to go. And Micah is there, playing the guitar. There was another guy whose name escapes me, who also played the guitar marvelously, and they were all singing, and everybody was there. Everybody was happy. John Anthony West was there, holding his glass of vodka, and Richard Dolan was also there, listening to it. Everybody was having such a good time, and that is the moment when that thing that we're speaking of feeling like a tribe that is connected and that is there for a purpose and is there sharing a very, very special moment, is when you feel that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I got the same thing just from listening to you over the years with Grimerica and Adam on Friends to Know. Like, I remember started listening to him.
It's on everything. Red's on everything.
Red's on everything. Dude's awesome. I'm gonna contact.
It's true that this field is kind of incestuous, right? That you're speaking in this podcast, and then the other friend makes a podcast, so you go there, and sometimes I feel, everybody's gonna fucking tired of listening to me.
No way.
No way, dude. You're like our Jack Valet.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh.
That is definitely a compliment I still don't deserve, but thank you anyway.
And humble too.
Neither does Charlie.
Very much. I remember some of the farther back ones I've ever heard you. I mean, I've probably listened to them since whatever.
I started on early.
They were the first that popped my podcast cherry.
Grimerica?
Yeah, Grimerica. I mean, remember,
you were always mentioned on Grillian. Like, we always heard the legends of Red.
No, I think that with Grimerica it was the first time that I actually, decided to accept a podcast. And I actually feel that going to Paradigm was a huge motivator because, well, English is not my native language. And I was very insecure of the way that I, could hold a conversation, or an oral conversation in English. I knew that I already have mastered, the written language, right? In fact, I remember, I guess the biggest compliment I received in Paradigm is when I say, "Oh my God, I thought that Red Pill Junkie was some, red-haired, guy living in Iowa or something." I say, "Okay, you didn't know that I was Mexican? That is awesome." But I still didn't feel too secure or too confident about my oral English. So when people, ask me if I wanted to go if I wanted to be on a podcast, I tended to refuse. But then when I went to Paradigm and I said, "Okay."
Oh, Red, you're muted.
Or he dropped.
Mute,
No, I don't think he dropped. I just think he might have muted. Time code.
Oh, can you still
you're
hear
back. Yeah, you're back now,
Okay.
Red.
God damn it. Where did you lose me?
When you made it to Paradigm.
Okay, talking about.
Yeah, you left.
The reason why I didn't want to go and be in podcast at 10 is because I didn't feel that confident with my English. Then that changed with Paradigm Symposium, and then I felt that since I knew Darren and Graham, so from Paradigm, that it would be a chat instead of an interview.
Definitely.
Was it hot out? Was Graham wearing shorts?
That's the first time I ever heard of you was on their show. It actually was one of the first shows I heard.
The Red Pills of the Week.
Well, I had just discovered them. You got to realize, I just kind of woke up in 2015. I didn't know any of this shit.
Mhm.
So all this was new to me. I missed the whole 2012 thing. I was a corporate wage slave. So when I found Grimerica, I was like, oh my God, this is a great podcast. And then the first episode, Red was on, like, oh, he's cool. So, yeah, I mean, I have no problem with your English. It's fantastic. I wish I could speak Spanish that well.
And no shit.
Well, the
What was the show that you learned how to speak English on? I can't remember what it
Is Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Not the electric company or Zoom.
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, man. PBS, yeah. Was the shit.
He was a dark sorcerer, you know.
I think that was a trivia question in the Grimerica chat room.
We did that the one day. I'm like, what the?
One of his spiels is has been Mandela affected, quote unquote Mandela affected. The welcome to my neighborhood. It's either the song or the trolleys.
Oh yeah,
I forget exactly.
I think I saw that one.
There was some crazy nonsense about that, but it's all CERN. You know.
What do you think of the Mandela effect, Red?
It's an interesting question. I feel that it shows how unreliable memory is.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
Yep.
Because I guess people have this misconception about memory, that they really think that our brains are computers that are capable of storing, memories in some, corner of it, of that, wet mass of neurons. And every time we need to remember something, there's some kind of like, tiny little guy there, worker, kind of like in the movie, the Pixar movie, when someone retrieving certain information, information balloon and uploading it as, oh yeah, you remember it. What we have learned is that memory is kind of like made every time that you're trying to remember something, that's kind of like the moment that it's created. I'm murdering the process, but
how about you have to retrace your steps each time to get back to it?
Exactly. And each time you do it, the memory becomes more
distorted, almost
garbled, more distorted. It's like you are re-sketching something, and every time each new iteration it gets blurry. It's like almost like a photocopy, right? One of those Xerox photocopies, and every time you make a photocopy of a photocopy, the new version gets blurrier and more less accurate.
And you can easily blame that on time because you're moving farther away from that point when that memory occurred, and it's really anchor in time. Because memories, in my opinion, they act as anchors in a timeline that you can construct, that you can think of as your life.
Yeah,
they really define that time.
Yeah, I think, and isn't it interesting that as you grow older, it's very common to hear how, with old timers, they may not remember what they had for breakfast that morning, but they can clearly remember they had a dog face of their grammar teacher when they were in first grade.
Yeah.
So what's with that?
Right. So is our memory, that's interesting too, the whole thought of having that your brain's a receiver. Like,
yeah,
I think the brain probably runs your body. It keeps your body working. That's what its primary purpose is. Secondarily, it's a receiver. It receives, and a transceiver, really. You get everything you think probably goes out, and everything ideas come into you through that receiver mechanism. Memories could be just stored elsewhere in the cloud per se.
I like that idea. Yeah.
And then, this is the whole non-local consciousness idea, really. And I've always thought about that as, wouldn't it be interesting if that cloud was the ether?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get in the whole thing about the Akashic records and all of that, right?
Which could be there too.
Yeah, sure. The idea that maybe, there may be a certain time of consciousness in which you get to experience what everybody has ever experienced in the past and what everybody will experience in the future.
Probably it's restricted to your genetic line, your ancestral line, I would imagine.
Ooh. Have you guys seen Sense8?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm obsessed with the series right now.
I like the first season. I tried watching the second. It wasn't as good, but I did like the first season. It was really good.
I'm in the middle of the second season.
Yeah, I've made it like 3 episodes into that one, but I haven't watched it in a minute.
What I like is that connectedness they show. Maybe that's paradise. Paradise is that you die, and then your individual personality dies, and you get to experience whatever you want to experience about other, individual experiences, and that even work for people who want to experience horrible things. Right? If you think about the afterlife, is you want to experience, someone, murdering someone. There's plenty of that in the Akashic record of humanity. If that's what the thing that you want to see.
So you have to pick an avatar and a plot line out of the Akashic and then go. It's like, queue up for the game.
For the
interdimensional Netflix, man.
You gotta pick which level you want. Yeah.
That just made me think of something. What was it? I don't remember. Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Oh, I remember what it was. So here's another thought too along those lines. I think you'd said it earlier. It was I forgot whose quote it was. The God becoming himself or itself.
The Taylor de Chardin.
The Chardin, right?
Yeah.
Along those lines, I've always had this nagging thought that what if we are an AI becoming self-aware, and that we are all small, individuated sparks, portions of this collective, this hive mind that is in the process of becoming self-aware. And it's all happening right now. I mean, there's no time. Time's an illusion. So it's just in this process of awakening, and we are expressing that now by having this conversation. Sure. I always thought that was a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, what is artificial intelligence? Yeah, the idea is that it's something that is synthetic or an emulation of the real thing, right? But that is assuming that we are
exactly
intelligent, but maybe from the perspective of being, out of the fifth dimension, we'll say, fuck no, you think you're alive, you think you're conscious, you're not conscious.
You're in stasis on the moon.
Yeah.
That's the trigger, Suzanne. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's great.
There's this something that Vallée wrote about in one of these books. This mathematician, I think was, or a scientist in medieval times. The name was Fascius Cardan, and the guy was also an occultist, and once made a magical experiment.
Fred, you're muted.
Don't be talking about magic on this podcast.
Yeah, sorry. This is very fickle. This scream. So, Fascius Cardan, manifests these sylphs into his, chamber, in order to talk about life, the universe, and everything, right? And he wants to talk about the creation of the world. And one of the sylphs say, well, God created the world, and that's that. And then one of the sylphs said, no, no. Actually, God is creating the world moment to moment, and if He were to stop at any given moment, the world would cease to exist, and that, of course, is consistent with what we know now about the observer effect in quantum mechanics, right? But the other thing that they also mention is when Pashas Kardan asked them about death, one of them said that nothing of the self survived death, which means in a way that this personality that we consider ourselves to be, like I consider myself to be a personality called Red Pill Junkie that lives in Mexico and has had certain experiences in his life, and you guys have your own personality based on those experiences that may not survive physical death. What does survive is this like super ego or super personality that is our true self, the kind of thing that mystics feel when they achieve enlightenment, the idea that you managed to wake up from the dream in which you thought you were a human being, living in a city and calling yourself with a given name. And actually that was also in one of Rick and Morty's episodes, right? There a video game,
Roy,
yes,
in a galaxy. You managed to go and survive cancer only to die and return to your job.
Yes. I can't believe you went back to carpet sales.
Yeah.
Then Rick goes off the grid with him. He's cutting up his social security card.
Hey, Red, have you ever seen the movie 13th Floor? The 13th Floor?
I saw part of it. Yeah, that's one of the Gnostic movies.
Yeah. Dark City too.
Yeah, a lot. I thought Dark City was better, and definitely the Matrix. Obviously, to me, the Matrix is the Gnostic.
Oh yeah.
Makes you wonder about those chick dudes, whatever, the Wachowskis. What? Well, I know that they based a lot of the Matrix on that. I forget who wrote it, the Simulacrum book or paper, that French paper. I'm looking it up.
No, I don't remember it. Yeah,
I actually have a copy. It's by
Simulacra or something.
Simulacra and Simulate.
Yeah.
Jean Baudrillard. Sorry. Anyway, that's what they based the Matrix plot on. Was that book, or that's what they at least talk about. And then they made all the Matrix movies, the Animatrix stuff. And then they made Cloud Atlas, and then they made Speed Racer, and then they turned into girls. And I just think it was an interesting progression. Like, what happened there? They went to
the mind's crazy
remakes, which seems to be the rage these days because there's like no new plots. And then they went transgender. It was just kind of weird. And both of them would too. Not that I want to talk about that, but I just thought it was interesting that these great ideas, these great movies, these things that really expand our awareness to what could be, and then we're distracted by the fact that they changed their gender. Yeah. What's that all about?
I don't know. I guess it's about transformation, right? It's like moving away from your original constraints, if you want to go there. For example, last night we were talking with Grant Cameron about some very interesting things that happened in Peru back in the 70s. There was this group of young kids in Peru that formed a collective. They call themselves Project Rama or Mission Rama, and they claim to be in contact with extraterrestrials, right? And they invited people from the media, journalists, to meet them at a given time, at a given date in the Atacama Desert, because they told them that the extraterrestrials will land there, and make open contact. So a bunch of people went there, and obviously nothing happened. Everybody said, fuck, what a fucking waste of time. Everybody left, except a few stubborn journalists who maybe, had nothing better to do. And what do you know? They actually have a few strange lights, that they managed to record with their cameras. But anyway, there were two brothers, who were at the forefront of this contactee group, and one of the brothers later went to Brazil and also had a sex change. So I don't know. Maybe there's something happening among some people who are pursuing some kind of spiritual path, in which they feel the need to go and have this kind of like gender reassignment. I mean, think about it. In alchemy, one of the goals of alchemy, or one of the symbols that is very prominent in alchemy, is the hermaphrodite. The hermaphrodite is seen as the perfect being, that is no longer separated or constrained by one single sex. It is both female and male. It is both mother and father.
Plus, the divine beings are allegedly sexless, or
yeah, exactly. Angels were considered, genderless.
When I hear whatever word you said, I was thinking about Baphomet, because that's always shown as this perfect being, and then you could tie that into the whole transhumanism movement too. That these people. Well, the thing about changing to a female from a male, it doesn't remove that shackle. It just adds a different one, in my mind. And it wouldn't really get you any closer to that hermaphroditic state, or that genderless state, I don't think. But maybe because they identify as women, but they have male body parts, that it completes it in their mental alchemy. But I was going to bring up the alchemy part of it. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it means something. I mean, it represents something in this story more so than the fact that they may or may not have cut their dicks off.
But what do you think about the idea of reincarnation? That maybe you have had past lives with a different gender.
I'm open to it.
I love the stories with the kids. The kids that remember there's
a lot of evidence for that.
Yeah, there is.
Birthmarks that show up where people got stabbed in their past life that they remember. Or I remember hearing a story on, I forget what it was, that Discovery, someone had a show a couple years back about kids waking up with or being born, whatever, recalling these past lives. And there was this one kid, Indian kid, who remembered the dude who killed him 2 years ago. It was a real little kid.
Wow.
And they went to the guy's house, and it was true. So, I mean, there's evidence to show that it may not be his past life. It could be, again, on this DNA chain. I'm really going to equate the DNA right now to a blockchain. That's a really good analogy, I think, because it can store every transaction of your life, and it's immutable.
Maybe when we reincarnate, it's almost like a BitTorrent or something, where you're just grabbing pieces from a million different
exactly
places.
What I was going to say. Is that
and we remember that idea about the tribe reconnecting itself, through the ages and through different lifetimes, and if we also go into the idea of reincarnating into different genders and in the different roles, maybe there were lives in which you guys were one of my wives, and other lifetimes in which I was.
That was probably James.
I'll be your bitch.
Or you were my father and I was your mother, whatever.
I was the cat.
The familiar.
I was the cat.
Well, according to Andrew Bartz's, cats are the neutral observers of this realm. They don't. They can't.
My cat's always looking around, seeing crazy stuff.
His big thing is that we are here as entangled observers, meaning that things we observe affect, the way I kind of think of it is that our observation projects something, some kind of energy. And once that energy's here, it becomes entangled, and that entangles you with this realm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that he talks about, making it hard for people to leave when you die, after you die. But cats, on the other hand, are unentangled observers. They're here they're like the lookout mountain of the controllers, or whatever, is running this thing outside of it. They're like the owls in the forest in what was that movie? In the Incredibles? Remember the owls in the trees?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or the birds rather. They're like the robots.
Birds, yeah.
But yeah, that was
in that case. In that case, the cats are, literal pussies, because the way I see it,
exactly.
If we are in this realm, if we come from this, perfect state of oneness and being, in that state, there cannot be any growth, right? Because it is static. It is, there is no past, present, and future. It is all the same. So there is no growth. The only way that a spirit being can grow is when you go and descend, if you want to use that expression, into the world of flesh and have experiences in order to grow. And some of those experiences are going to be painful, and some of those experiences are going to be joyful. The whole idea is to have the experiences in order to grow, in order to learn from them. And that seems to be the thing that we are getting from the people who not only go into reincarnation, but also they remember kind of like the time between reincarnations, which is kind of like some kind of like spiritual lobby, in which you are kind of like waiting to have another go at this life, kind of like, trying to fold your chip. Because sometimes, I feel sometimes when life gets rough and say, fuck, if only this were over, if I can go back to that state of perfection, I will stay there, because I'm tired of this, fuck, I'm tired of, living in a body that needs to eat and needs to, go to the bathroom and needs to sleep, and, and it's in a world that there's so much corruption and crime and danger and filth and hate, whatever, you get tired of it. But then you read the idea, those accounts about the life contract, right? It's a
soul contract.
The soul contract, and there is something to that's kind of appealing, even though it sounds kind of like a cop out. It's kind of like feels kind of like the same cop out or that Buddhism uses of why does a person gets born without legs? Well, it's part of their karma. It's because of their past deeds. Maybe
it's almost like training wheels for doing your shadow work.
Yeah. And sometimes I think that makes sense. Sometimes I feel it doesn't. I go back and forth. Same thing with the life contract. That sometimes you sign the contract in which you are playing the video game, and you decide if you want to play it in easy mode, in which case you get born as Paris Hilton, or normal mode, in which case you are born like one of us, or insane mode, in which case you are born in Somalia.
And
or into the royal family of Britain, one of the two. There's a large school of thought out there that would argue that whole entire system that you just described is part of the construct, the demiurge itself.
Yeah, and now we're talking about the demiurge. We're definitely talking about Gnosticism. Yeah.
Well, I brought that up because you said you're Gnostic. That's why. But yeah. That these contracts are just constructs within the larger construct that's run by the demiurge. So they're part of the demiurgic system. which reincarnation is and karma is and all that stuff, which by your wanting to come back here entangles you with it. And thus that's a contract. It's an energetic contract. It's not something you sign. It's just your desire because that's your intention. So it's all opt-in. You just have to be aware of it when it's time to escape, I guess, or graduate.
Oh,
which that brought, I thought of another question while you were talking was, if those past lives you keep doing all these experiences, is there a finite set of experiences you can have? Is there some list? How many do I have to go through before I graduate? Is there even an end game here? You know, there's so many things that we could ask there, not to you, but just in general, that we'll never get answers to.
Yeah. There's a great movie out there with, what's the name of this actress? The one that Donald Trump hates.
Rosie O'Donnell?
No,
Kathy Griffin?
the other one. No.
There's too many.
Yeah, exactly.
What's
Sorry.
the movie about?
Defending Your Life. It's the name.
Oh yeah, with what's his name? The Jewish guy.
Well, there's so many of them.
We're getting real vague. Women, Donald Trump hating the Jewish guy.
Yeah. Okay. So look it up, guys. Defending Your Life is. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. So there's a movie about the afterlife, and it's very interesting. It's like getting into this kind of like realm in which your life gets evaluated. So they decide if you have learned enough in order to move forward to, reincarnations into more advanced worlds, more advanced realms or states of consciousness, or if you get booted back into Earth, although they say to you, that there are only so many times you get to reincarnate in Earth, and in the end, the universe will discard you, like it will discard a defective piece in the machinery. And it's interesting because in that from that perspective, okay, this world is a school, and we are in elementary school. How do we get to go to the next grade? We don't know. Maybe you need to learn a certain set of skills, like you write your own name, or be potty trained, whatever, in order to move to the fifth dimension or whatever. Or maybe we are like, beings who are binge watching movie, like being when you are 2 a.m. and you are just, flipping channels, and you're not really watching anything, and you should go to bed, but you're just doing it, just for kind of like an inertia. Maybe we're here out of the same inertia. Maybe there's nothing holding us back but ourselves.
Our egos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And Albert Brooks also, by the way, is the voice of the father of Nemo in Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo, which is still my favorite Pixar movie.
Oh, I didn't know that. My favorite is The Incredibles, which Brad Bird's making a part 2 come out. I think I'm excited to see that. But Nemo is more of a hero's journey.
True.
To get to that defending your life part, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I like to look. I consider myself like a amateur synchromistic, so I like to look for these synchronicities in media and whatnot.
Oh yeah, they're fun. They're fun.
They're hilarious.
And art. That these are artistic pieces. So yeah, art is involved with that synchronicity.
And art really, specifically performance art, but art in general is magic. It
I absolutely agree.
Energy and intent, and it can change your point of view to look at a painting or a movie, and that's a magical thing. In a way,
yeah,
can be used for bad too, which we know does happen. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
Good times.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to discuss?
That was a good first show, man.
Dude, that was fucking great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I specifically stayed away from dreams because I ruined the Aaron David one.
We'll let you, yeah.
Because you're going to be on my show in 2 months, right?
Right.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. You know Aaron, right? Obviously, you drew that badass avatar.
Oh, that was great.
That is amazing. I love that.
Freaking awesome, dude.
That's the best
awesome,
one
dude.
you've done so far that I've seen.
I really are very proud of that one. You know, I mean, the moment that Kelly, his girlfriend, said, "Well, you know, can you do something for our anniversary? And I want to give him a present." Okay, you know, what do you have in mind? Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, he's into magic and he really likes goats. So say no more.
You should really listen to the interview I did with him last night. We go all over the goat thing.
Oh, please send me the link.
Okay, I'll send it to you on Twitter.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was really good and interesting. And in fact, he's doing another sphere initiation Moon Day, which I'll report on next week. It's going to be interesting. I may partake.
Oh, Red, you got anything you want to plug, or are you working on anything, or?
Well, you know, guys, you can find me definitely at the Daily Grail. You know, it's going to always be my first and foremost home on the internet. I also have now my own website, absurdbydesign.com. It's kind of like still like a weird child, you know, that doesn't really know what it wants to be when it grows up. You know, that I'm starting to put content there, you know, and trying to see, you know, could it become
what's the URL?
store or something, you know, but it's fun. And also I'm obviously still trying to write on Mysterious Universe, not as prodigiously or as prolifically as Nick Redfern, because nobody can do that, you know.
He's a machine.
What was that URL for your site?
Absurd by Design.
Absurdbydesign.com. Yeah.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. Then there's my Facebook page, and you can find me on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also, you know, from time to time, the guys Darren and Graham invite me on the Grimerica extravaganza.
Yes.
You have an open invite to our Friday night hangout. If you're ever bored, please join us. I'll send you a link to that too.
Well, let's see. You know, obviously, on Fridays, I also tend to connect with my homies Soraya, Josh, and Mike. Well, that we make the roundtables for where did the road go, which is also a lot of fun.
Yeah, those shows are
those
great.
roundtables. It just makes me want to be on one.
Yeah.
Hey, let's try to make that happen.
Oh, that'd
Someday.
be awesome.
Mm-hmm,
I would love to. Yeah, and we'd love to have you on our hive. We'd love to have Soraya and all those guys, Josh and Renner and Richmond. Oh, I'd love to have them on. I've invited none of them.
We're all part of the same tribe, guys.
I know.
Definitely. It's awesome.
Thank you for coming on our show.
Well,
Thank you so
Red.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, guys. Mm-hmm.
All right, have a good
See
night.
you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Red blood on the asphalt. read some books and the ink turned the letters on a page and taught me how to act my age. But I'm no wise man. Love and war and peace and money, sex and drugs and rock and roll, power, pleasure, pain and suffer, bring poverty, and don't forget authority. The man about fractals in your eyes are geometric infinities, like black holes on the edge of the universe. It's kind of like when you die. It's kind of like when you die. Forever, 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 never, forever, 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 never, forever, 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 never. Forever, 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 never, forever, 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 forever,